Welcome, traveller of the mind, to a sanctuary built of silence and shadow. Before we begin our journey into the undergrowth, take a moment to find the stillness within your own body. There is no rush here. The world outside, with its clocks and its demands, has ceased to matter. Here, in this space we create together, time acts like water, pooling and slowing until it is perfectly still. Adjust your pillows, pull the blankets up to your chin, and let your eyelids grow heavy, as if weighted by soft, warm coins. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of an ancient twilight forest. The air is cool and smells of damp earth, pine needles, and the sweet perfume of rain that fell centuries ago. The light here is dim, a soothing indigo that softens every edge, making the trees look like velvet pillars supporting a canopy of stars. As you breathe in, imagine that cool forest air filling your lungs, expanding your chest, and as you breathe out, release every tension you have carried today, letting it sink into the soft, mossy ground beneath your feet. You are safe here. You are anchored. You're ready to drift into the hidden world of the forest floor, a world of quiet miracles and slow, ancient magic. Let your mind detach from the noise of the day and float down, 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 settling like a leaf onto the rich, dark soil. Here, we shall uncover the secrets of the mushroom, not as a lesson, but as a lullaby. Beneath the very ground where you imagine yourself resting, there exists a secret as vast as the galaxy itself. If you could peel back the layer of green moss and fallen leaves, you would not find darkness, but a shimmering living tapestry known as mycelium. Picture this network as billions of microscopic threads, white and delicate as spun silk, weaving through the soil in every direction. It is the living architecture of the earth, a biological internet that pulses with life beneath our feet. This web is not chaotic, it is purposeful and precise. Imagine these threads stretching out for miles, finer than a human hair, yet possessing the strength to bind the soil together. In this vision, the earth is not solid rock, but a sponge of life, holding water and nutrients in a loving embrace. This mycelium is the true body of the mushroom. What we see above ground is merely the fruit, the fleeting blossom of this eternal underground tree. It is a comforting thought, is it not? To know that beneath the surface, everything is connected by these white, ghostly fingers, holding the world together in a silent subterranean hug. Feel the stability of that connection, the assurance that even in the unseen dark there is structure, support, and a grand, unifying design that never sleeps, allowing you to drift deeper into your own rest. As we follow these silken threads through the dark earth, we might stumble upon a phenomenon that defies the night. In the deepest parts of the forest, where the canopy is thickest and the shadows are absolute, certain mushrooms possess the power to create their own light. Picture a fallen log, ancient and crumbling, returning to the soil. In the daylight it looks ordinary, but as the sun vanishes it begins to glow with a soft, ethereal green luminescence. This is foxfire, a cold, chemical fire that burns without heat, a lantern lit by nature itself. Visualize walking through a dreamscape where the path is illuminated not by the moon, but by these patches of glowing fungi, appearing like emerald constellations on the forest floor. The light is dim, ghostly, and incredibly peaceful. It is a biological beacon, evolved over millions of years to attract insects in the dark, but to us, it serves as a reminder that light can exist in the deepest darkness. Imagine holding your hand near this spectral glow, feeling no warmth, only seeing the gentle radiance that paints your skin in hues of pale jade. It is a quiet magic, a whisper of colour in a world of black and grey, guiding you further into the comfort of the night. Let this green glow wash over your mind, a soothing balm that signals it is time to turn away from the harsh lights of the waking world and embrace the soft, mysterious luminescence of dreams. From these glowing embers of the forest floor, our attention drifts to shapes that seem to mimic the clouds in the sky. In the open meadows that border our imaginary forest, we find the giant puffballs. Visualize these magnificent spheres, pure white and smooth as kid gloves, resting in the tall grass like moons that have fallen from the heavens to nap on the earth. They are perfectly round, lacking the traditional stem and cap, existing simply as orbs of potential. To touch one in your mind is to feel something akin to a dense marshmallow or a memory foam pillow, firm yet yielding, cool to the touch. Some of these gentle giants can grow to be larger than a basketball, solitary hermits of the field that ask for nothing but space to swell. There is a profound stillness to the puffball. It does not sway in the wind. It sits, heavy and content, a monument to roundness and completion. Imagine resting your head against one of these soft white giants, feeling its organic coolness soothing your temple. It is a structure of pure simplicity, a biological marvel that has done away with all complexity to become a perfect vessel. In its maturity it will transform, but for now, in this moment of stillness, it is a white anchor in a sea of green, inviting you to curl up beside it and absorb its heavy, peaceful silence. The destiny of that giant puffball, and indeed all its kin, lies in the air. As we drift from the heavy sphere, we become weightless, turning our attention to the microscopic travellers known as spores. Every mushroom is a launch pad, and the air around them is filled with invisible dust, a golden mist of potential life. Picture a sunbeam piercing through the canopy, illuminating the dust motes dancing in the shaft of light. Among those motes are millions of spores, liberated from the gills of a mushroom, embarking on a journey entirely dependent on the whims of the wind. There is a supreme relaxation in the idea of the spore. It has no agency, no muscles, no plan. It simply lets go. It allows the breeze to carry it, drifting over rivers, over mountains, over oceans, in a state of suspended animation. Some spores can travel across continents, riding the jet streams in the upper atmosphere, floating in the stratosphere where the air is thin and silent. Imagine yourself as one of these specks, totally unburdened by gravity or destination. You are floating in the vast blue sky, held aloft by the gentle breath of the planet. There is no effort required, only the surrender to the flow of the air. This is the ultimate freedom, a release of all control, trusting that you will land exactly where you're meant to be, in the fertile soil of a new home, ready to begin the cycle again. When that spore finally lands and germinates, it seeks a partner. We return to the soil to witness one of the oldest friendships on Earth, a relationship known as mycorrhiza. Picture the roots of a towering oak tree, thick and woody, pushing through the dark earth. Now visualize the delicate white threads of the mushroom's mycelium approaching these roots. They do not attack, they embrace. The fungi wrap around the tree roots in a gentle velvet glove, or sometimes penetrate the cells to hold hands on a microscopic level. This is a symbiotic union, a silent trade agreement that has lasted for millions of years. The tree, bathing in the sunlight far above, sends sugars and carbohydrates down into its roots to feed the mushroom. In return, the mushroom, with its vast network of fine threads, mines the soil for water and minerals, delivering them directly to the tree. Imagine this constant fluid exchange of energy flowing beneath you. It is a lifeline of sugar and water, a nourishment that bypasses words. It speaks to the fact that nothing in nature truly stands alone. The mighty tree needs the humble fungus, and the fungus needs the towering tree. Feel the comfort of that support system, the knowledge that you are supported by forces you cannot see, nourished by connections you do not have to actively maintain. It is a dance of giving and receiving that happens in the quiet dark, ensuring that the forest thrives while it sleeps. Drifting back through the corridors of time, the forest around us changes. The trees shrink and vanish, the animals disappear, and we find ourselves in a prehistoric landscape, hundreds of millions of years ago. Here, before the reign of the tall trees, the landscape was dominated by the prototaxites. Visualize a world where mushrooms were the titans. These ancient organisms stood like pillars, towering 20 feet or more into the primordial sky, far taller than the non-vascular plants of the time. Picture a landscape that looks almost alien, filled with these vast trunk-like spires of fungi, standing silent guard over a younger Earth. They were the original skyscrapers, textured and imposing, casting long shadows across a world that had not yet known the footfall of a dinosaur. There is a deep, resonant peace in imagining this era. The silence would have been absolute, save for the wind whistling around these fungal giants. They stood for millions of years, the undisputed rulers of the land. To visualize them is to touch a deep ancestral memory of the planet, a time of slow growth and quiet dominance. Let your mind wander among these prehistoric pillars, feeling the immensity of time, the slow ticking of the geologic clock. It reminds us that life takes many forms and that patience is the only true constant. We are but brief visitors, and these ancient giants invite us to slow our own internal clocks to match the rhythm of the stones and the soil. Returning to the present day, we travel to the misty forests of Oregon to witness a different kind of giant, one that hides its size beneath the surface. Here lives the humongous fungus, a single honey mushroom organism that is currently the largest living thing on our planet. It does not stand tall like the ancient prototaxites. Instead, it spreads wide, encompassing thousands of acres of land. Imagine standing in a forest where every golden mushroom you see for miles is actually part of the same single entity. It is a sprawling, interconnected consciousness that has been growing for thousands of years. It breathes as one. It drinks as one. It is a creature of immense patience and endurance, slowly expanding its territory through the dark soil, inch by inch, century by century. There is a profound comfort in the idea of such continuity. While empires rise and fall, while cities are built and crumbled, this organism quietly continues its slow spread, indifferent to the chaos of the surface world. Visualize this golden web stretching out under the forest floor, a vast living blanket that covers the earth. It is a testament to the power of persistence, of slow, steady growth that conquers not through speed, but through an unwavering refusal to stop. Feel yourself enveloped by this vastness, a small part of a much larger, slower reality. As this vast organism grows, it participates in the sacred cycle of decomposition. This is not an ending, but a transformation. Look closely at the forest floor where the autumn leaves have fallen in a riot of red and gold. Enter the mushroom, the great recycler. Without them, the world would be buried under mountains of dead wood and debris. Visualize the gentle molecular disassembly of a fallen leaf. The mushroom releases enzymes, invisible biological keys that unlock the nutrients trapped within the dead matter. It is a slow, quiet digestion. The brittle, dry leaf softens, darkens, and eventually dissolves into rich black soil. Smell the scent of this process. It is the smell of musk, of deep earth, of petrichor after a storm. It is a clean smell. It is the smell of life returning to its source. There is a relief in this process, a letting go of the old to make way for the new. The mushroom teaches us that nothing is ever wasted, that what seems like the end is merely the preparation for a new beginning. Imagine your own worries like those fallen leaves, dropping to the forest floor, where the gentle fungi will break them down, turning them into nourishment for new growth, leaving your mind clear, dark, and fertile. Among these recyclers, there is one that performs a magic trick of liquid transformation. We turn our gaze to the shaggy ink cap. In its youth, it stands tall and white, covered in shaggy scales that look like the feathers of a dove. But as it matures, it enacts a strange and beautiful self-dissolution. Starting from the edge of the cap, the mushroom begins to melt. Visualize this process in slow motion, the white, solid flesh turning into a dripping, inky black liquid. It is a process called deliquescence. The mushroom literally turns itself into ink, dripping down to the ground, carrying its spores in the black fluid. It is ephemeral, fleeting, here for a moment and then melting away like a dream upon waking. Imagine dipping a quill into this natural ink, writing a letter on parchment with the very essence of the mushroom. The ink is dark, rich, and teeming with life. There is a beauty in this impermanence, a reminder that holding on is not always the answer. Sometimes, the most natural thing to do is to melt, to flow, to change your state from solid to liquid, letting gravity take you where you need to go. Watch the black drop fall from the cap in slow motion, splashing silently onto a green leaf below, a perfect glistening bead of nature's ink. From the dark black of the melting ink cap, we look for a splash of colour to brighten the gloom, and we find the iconic fly agaric. This is the mushroom of fairy tales, the archetype that lives in the collective imagination of childhood. Visualize a bed of deep emerald green moss, soft as velvet. Pushing up through this green carpet is a brilliant ruby-red sphere, which slowly opens into a flat plate speckled with textured white dots. It is a masterpiece of contrast, the vibrant red against the cool green, the chaotic spots against the smooth skin. It looks like a jewel left behind by a giant, or a small stool for a weary forest sprite. This mushroom has been painted in stories for centuries, a symbol of magic and the other world. In our peaceful forest, it stands as a beacon of wonder. It reminds us that the world is not just functional, it is beautiful. It is capable of whimsy. Gaze at this red and white toadstool in your mind's eye. It is perfectly still, a silent sentinel of the woods. The rain may glisten on its red cap, making it shine like a candied apple. It requires nothing of you but your observation. It is a spark of joy in the quiet woods, a visual anchor that holds your attention, keeping you centered in this dreamlike state, far away from the grey and beige of the ordinary world. Leaving the vivid red of the fairy tale toadstool behind, our mind's eye wanders deeper into the woods, seeking not just beauty, but utility, the ancient connection between the fungus and the human hand. High on the trunk of a silver birch, we find a bracket fungus that resembles the hoof of a horse stepping out from the bark. This is the amadou, or the tinder fungus, a silent companion to humanity since the Ice Age. Visualize the texture of this organism. While the outside is hard and grey, protecting it from the elements, the inside is a miracle of softness. It is a layer of felt, amber-coloured and plush, known to our ancestors as nature's velvet. Imagine yourself as a weary traveller 5,000 years ago traversing a frozen landscape. In your pocket you carry a pouch made of this very fungus. Inside that pouch rests a single glowing ember, a spark of fire from your last camp. The amadou does not burn with a flame, it smoulders. It holds the heat, cradling the fire in its slow-burning heart for hours, allowing you to carry warmth across miles of snow. Feel the profound security of that knowledge, that you hold the seed of fire, the essence of survival, safely tucked away in a soft fungal blanket. It is a material so versatile it has been pounded into hats and coats, a fabric grown from the tree itself. Run your imaginary fingers over this felt-like substance, feeling the history it holds, the warmth it preserves. It is the texture of safety, a soft barrier against the cold bite of the ancient world. From the high branches of the birch, we let our awareness sink heavily back down, past the leaf litter, past the roots, diving deep into the subterranean dark to hunt for buried treasure. Here, encased in the cool, stony silence of the earth, lives the truffle. Unlike other mushrooms that reach up for the sun and the wind, the truffle is a recluse, completing its entire life cycle in the comforting embrace of the soil. It is a nugget of rough, dark gold, hidden away from prying eyes, accessible only to those with the keenest senses. The truffle communicates not through sight, but through scent. Visualize this aroma wafting through the soil, a complex musky perfume that is earthy, savoury and sweet all at once. It is the distilled essence of the forest floor. In the waking world, animals hunt this scent with frantic energy, but here, in our slow dream, we simply drift toward it. Imagine holding one of these rough, knobby spheres in your hand. It is cool, dense and solid, heavy with the minerals of the earth. It represents the rewards of digging deep, of looking beneath the surface of things. There is a luxury in this darkness, a richness that does not need to show itself to be valuable. Let the imaginary scent of the truffle fill your senses, grounding you, making you feel heavy and precious, like a diamond of the earth resting safely in its underground vault. Drifting upward from the soil, we find ourselves in a grove of hardwood trees, where a waterfall seems to have frozen in midair, attached to the side of an oak. This is the lion's mane mushroom, a cascading wonder of pure white. Unlike the traditional cap and stem, this fungus pours itself out in thousands of long, soft spines, looking like the shaggy mane of a white lion or a beard of pristine icicles. But do not fear the cold, these icicles are soft to the touch. Reach out in your mind and stroke the cascading spines. They are rubbery, cool, and incredibly pliable, moving like the tentacles of a sea anemone in a gentle current. As you watch it, the lion's mane seems to glow with an inner purity, a stark white contrast to the browns and greens of the forest. This mushroom is not just a visual marvel, it is a healer of the mind. It is known to stimulate the growth of nerves, repairing the very pathways of thought. Imagine that as you gaze at this white waterfall, a clarity is washing over your own mind. The fog of the day disperses, replaced by the clean, structured beauty of the lion's mane. It is a symbol of focus and regeneration, a soft biological broom sweeping away the cobwebs of stress, leaving your thoughts clear, bright, and calm as the white spines dangling in the still forest air. As we move from the trees to the open grassy meadows that skirt the forest edge, we encounter a phenomenon that has sparked whisperings of magic for centuries. Look at the grass before you. There, etched in a perfect circle, is a ring of lush, dark green vegetation. This is a fairy ring. While folklore tells of dancing elves and portals to other worlds, the truth is a geometric marvel of the mycelium below. The fungus begins at a single point and grows outward evenly in all directions, searching for new nutrients. As it expands, it creates this widening ripple, a slow-motion shockwave of life that can span centuries. Picture yourself standing in the centre of this circle. The air here feels different, charged perhaps, or simply protected. You're standing in the eye of a biological storm that moves too slowly to be seen. The grass in the ring is taller, healthier, fed by the nitrogen released by the mycelium. It is a sanctuary of abundance. Trace the curve of the circle with your eyes. It is perfect, endless, a loop with no beginning and no end. There is a hypnotic quality to the circle, a shape that invites you to spin slowly, to encompass everything, to feel the safety of being enclosed in a living boundary. Let the circle hold you. You are the centre point, the still axis around which the world slowly turns. From the visible macrocosm of the meadow we shrink down smaller and smaller, entering the warm aromatic world of the microscopic. We enter the realm of yeast. Though we rarely think of them as such, these single-celled organisms are fungi, the invisible cousins of the forest giants. Without them, our world would lack the comfort of bread. Transport yourself to a rustic kitchen, warmed by a stone hearth. On a wooden table sits a bowl of dough, covered by a linen cloth. Underneath that cloth, billions of tiny yeasts are breathing. Listen closely. Can you hear the faint, soft sound of the dough rising? It is a microscopic sigh, the sound of life expanding. The yeast is feeding on sugars and releasing bubbles of carbon dioxide, stretching the gluten strands, lifting the heavy mass of dough into a pillow of potential. Smell the air. It is the scent of fermentation, of sourness turning into sustenance. It is a smell of home, of safety, of civilization. Visualize the warmth of the oven transforming this living foam into a golden loaf. This is the magic of the fungus. It takes the simple, flour and water, and breathes life into it, making it rise. Feel your own chest rise and fall in rhythm with the dough, a slow, expansive breath that nourishes your body and relaxes your soul. Leaving the warmth of the kitchen, we return to the wild, but this time to a place that has been wounded. We find ourselves at the site of an oil spill where the earth is black and slick with toxins. But look closely. Nature has sent a cleanup crew. Here, the oyster mushroom is performing an act of alchemy known as mycoremediation. These humble, fan-shaped fungi with their pearly gills and soft grey caps are not afraid of the poison. They embrace it. Visualize the white mycelium stretching out over the oil-soaked ground. It does not die, it eats. It breaks down the complex hydrocarbon chains of the oil, shattering the molecules that poison the earth and reassembling them into harmless carbohydrates. It is a slow, silent purification. Where there was once death, now flush clusters of oyster mushrooms bloom, their edges curled like delicate ears listening to the healing soil. It is a message of profound hope. It tells us that no damage is permanent, that nature possesses the tools to heal even the deepest wounds. Imagine this cleansing power moving through your own body, finding the pockets of stress, the toxins of worry, and gently breaking them down, dismantling them, and turning them into fuel for your growth. The earth is healing, and so are you. High in the northern latitudes where the wind bites and the birch trees stand like skeletons against the snow, grows the chaga. It does not look like a mushroom at all. To the untrained eye, it appears to be a burnt scar on the tree, a mass of black, cracked charcoal bursting from the white bark. But this rugged exterior hides a heart of gold. Slice through the black crust in your mind, and you will reveal a rich, corky interior the colour of rusted sunset. This is the clinker polypore, the king of herbs. It survives the harshest winters imaginable, storing energy, concentrating the vitality of the birch tree into itself. Imagine wrapping your hands around a warm ceramic mug filled with tea brewed from this ancient fungus. The steam rises, smelling of vanilla and earth. As you sip the dark liquid, feel the warmth spreading through your chest, radiating out to your fingertips and toes. It is the warmth of resilience. Chaga grows slowly, taking years to reach maturity, absorbing the strength of the forest. By drinking it, you're imbibing that patience, that fortitude. It is a shield against the cold, a biological fire that burns within, keeping you safe and warm regardless of the weather outside. We drift from the trees to the bare, exposed rocks of a high mountain peak. Here, where nothing else can survive, lives the lichen. It is a partnership, a marriage between a fungus and an algae, so intimate that they have become a single organism. They are the pioneers of the planet, the first to colonize the barren stone. Visualize a rock face covered in splashes of colour, starbursts of bright orange, maps of pale green, rosettes of slate grey. This is lichen. It grows with a slowness that defies human comprehension. Some patches you see are thousands of years old, having grown only a fraction of an inch in a century. There is a deep, resonant peace in this stillness. Lichen does not strive, it endures. It sits on the rock, drinking sunlight and rain, crumbling the stone into soil over eons. Touch the rough surface of the rock in your mind. Feel the crusty, dry texture of the lichen. It is older than empires, older than languages. It teaches us that there is no need to rush, to simply exist, to cling to your foundation and face the sun is enough. Let your breathing slow to the pace of the lichen, measuring time not in seconds but in seasons. In the quiet study of a naturalist lit by the soft glow of a candle, we discover the secret artistry of the mushroom. On a table lies a piece of white paper, and resting upon it is the cap of a mushroom, gills facing down. It has been there all night, undisturbed. Now, gently we lift the cap. What remains on the paper is a spore print. It is a ghostly image, a perfect powdery negative of the mushroom's gills. Millions of spores have fallen in a rain of dust, creating a radial pattern that looks like the iris of an eye or the spokes of a cosmic wheel. Some prints are chocolate brown, others lilac, some rusty orange or jet black. It is a signature, a unique fingerprint left behind in silence. Visualize the delicacy of this dust. If you were to sneeze, it would vanish, but left alone, it forms a perfect geometric record of the life that was. It is art created without intention, beauty born of biology. Imagine your own mind as that clean sheet of paper, and the peaceful thoughts of this journey settling upon it like spores, creating a pattern of calm symmetry that will remain even after the dream has ended. Finally, we drift to a cluttered laboratory in London in the year 1928 to witness a mistake that changed the world. We are looking at a forgotten petri dish near an open window. A stray spore of blue-green mould has drifted in on the breeze and landed on a culture of bacteria. This is penicillium. Look closely at the dish. Around the fuzzy patch of blue mould, there is a clear halo, a circle where the bacteria cannot survive. It is a microscopic shield, a barrier of protection. This mould, this humble fungus found on rotting melons and stale bread, produces a substance that saves lives. It is the great protector. Visualize this blue-green light expanding, washing over the world, washing over you. It is a force of safety, guarding against infection, against harm. It reminds us that salvation often comes from the most unexpected places, from the discarded and the overlooked. There is a deep comfort in knowing that nature has developed these defenses, these invisible guardians. Wrap yourself in the idea of this protective halo. You are safe. You are guarded by the ancient wisdom of the earth, a wisdom that can turn a speck of dust into a shield, allowing you to rest in absolute, protected peace. Wrapped in this aura of ancient protection, nestled within the invisible shield that guards the microscopic world, we find our attention shrinking further, seeking out the smallest, most comfortable sanctuaries of the forest floor. Here, hidden among the debris of twig and leaf, we discover the bird's nest fungi. These are not the homes of avian creatures high in the branches, but miniature mimics resting on the ground, no larger than the tip of your little finger. Visualize a tiny, perfect cup, shaped like a goblet or a thimble, crafted from the finest organic suede. Inside this cup rest several small lentil-shaped discs, looking for all the world like precious eggs waiting to hatch. These are the peridials, packets of spores sleeping in their cradle. There is a profound sense of containment here, a feeling of being tucking in. The bird's nest fungus does not rely on the wind to spread its children. It waits for the rain. Imagine the sound of a gentle shower beginning in the forest, the rhythmic pats and taps of water on leaves. A single raindrop, heavy and round, falls from the canopy and lands with precision right inside the cup. The splash uses the energy of the falling water to launch the little eggs out of the nest, sending them flying up to a yard away, where they latch onto nearby vegetation. It is a dispersal method born of playfulness, a splash cup mechanism that turns a storm into a game. Picture yourself curled up inside that tiny dry cup before the rain comes, safe, held, and ready to be carried to new adventures by the gentle forces of nature. From the cup that holds the rain, we turn our gaze to a shape that mimics the heavens. Lying camouflaged against the brown earth is a bulb that, when the time is right, performs a slow, geometric blossoming. This is the Earth star. Initially it looks like a simple puffball, a closed sphere of potential. But as it matures, the outer layer splits into star-like rays that curl downward, pushing against the soil to lift the central spore sac into the air. Visualize this slow motion unfolding. It is a star born from the dirt, opening its arms to the sky. The Earth star is sensitive to the moisture in the air, it is a breathing geometric form. When it rains, the star opens wide, standing on its tiptoes to release its spores into the wet breeze. When the sun beats down and the air dries, the rays curl back up, closing around the center to protect it, returning to the shape of a dormant bulb. It is a movement of infinite patience, a biological response to the humidity of the world. Imagine having that kind of sensitivity, the ability to open yourself when the conditions are nourishing, and to close yourself into a protective, self-contained sphere when the world becomes too harsh. It is a dance of opening and closing, a rhythmic expansion and contraction that mirrors the beating of a heart or the inhalation of a lung, grounded firmly in the moss. As the Earth star closes its leathery arms, we drift toward a texture that is altogether different, soft, quivering, and translucent. Clinging to the fallen branches of broadleaf trees, we find the snow fungus, also known as tremella. Unlike the rigid structures we have seen, this fungus is a creature of jelly. It looks like a cloud that has been snagged by a branch, or a ruffled piece of sea foam stranded in the woods. Visualize touching this gelatinous wonder. It is cool, slippery and yielding, similar to touching a piece of firm silk or a hydrated aloe leaf. In the dry air, the snow fungus shrivels into a hard, inconspicuous crust, almost disappearing. But add water, and it blooms, swelling up to 50 times its dry weight, holding moisture with a desperate, loving embrace. It is nature's sponge, a master of hydration. In the beauty traditions of the East, it is revered for this very ability to hold water, to keep skin plump and youthful. Imagine your own spirit like the tremella, capable of absorbing the nourishment around you, swelling with vitality, becoming soft, flexible, and resilient. There is no rigidity here, only the ability to flow, to wobble with the breeze, and to hold on to the life-giving rain, turning the hard lines of the branch into a soft white ruffle of pure hydration. From this formless jelly, nature spins a structure of intricate, deliberate elegance. Deep in the bamboo groves of the tropics, a mushroom emerges that wears a gown. This is the bamboo fungus, often called the veiled lady or the maiden in the veil. It begins as a simple egg, but within a few hours it pushes up a tall white stalk, and then the spectacle begins. From beneath the cap, a delicate lace-like skirt unrolls. Visualize this net, white and intricate as a bridal veil, cascading slowly down the stem. It is a hexagonal mesh, geometrically perfect, hanging like a crinoline skirt around the stalk. The growth is rapid, yet the unfolding of the skirt is a moment of pure, silent drama. It hangs there, suspended in the still, humid air of the bamboo forest, a fleeting monument to beauty. This intricate net is not just for show, it helps to distribute the scent that attracts the insects it needs. But to us, it is a vision of grace. Imagine standing in that green filtered light, watching the veiled lady drop her lace skirt in slow motion. It is a reminder that nature loves decoration, that evolution produces not just the functional, but the breathtakingly ornamental. Let the image of that falling lace slow your mind, the mesh filtering out your thoughts until only the beauty of the pattern remains. The pattern continues, but changes from delicate lace to sturdy, colourful waves. On the side of a fallen hardwood log, we find the turkey tail mushroom. It is one of the most common sights in the woods, yet its beauty is often overlooked. Look closely at the fan-shaped brackets growing in overlapping tiers, like tiles on a roof, or the ruffled feathers of a strutting turkey. The surface of each fan is marked with concentric zones of colour. Visualize these rings, bands of rust, bands of cream, bands of deep charcoal, and bands of velvety blue. They ripple out from the centre like waves on a shoreline, or rings in the trunk of a tree. Run your thumb over the surface in your mind. The texture changes with the colour. Some bands are hairy and soft as velvet, others are smooth and leathery. This mushroom is a powerhouse of immunity, a guardian of health used for millennia, but its visual gift is one of repetition and variation. There is a hypnotic quality to following the lines of the turkey tail. Round and round they go, mapping the history of the mushroom's growth. It invites you to trace the path of time, to see that growth happens in cycles, in waves, adding layer upon layer of experience to create a structure that is tough, resilient, and beautifully banded. While the turkey tail displays a matte, velvety finish, our next discovery gleams as if polished by a master craftsman. We travel to the base of an old hemlock tree to find the reishi, the mushroom of immortality. In the dappled sunlight it looks unnatural, as if someone has painted a wooden sculpture with high-gloss red lacquer. Visualize the kidney-shaped cap swirling with gradients of deep red, burnt orange, and a rim of bright white or yellow where the new growth is occurring. It looks wet, but it is dry and hard as wood. This is the varnished conch, a mushroom that commands respect. In ancient Taoist traditions, reishi was believed to nourish the shen, or the spirit, calming the mind and transforming the body into a vessel of light. It is not a mushroom for eating in a stew, it is a mushroom for steeping, for extracting wisdom over time. Imagine sitting beside this shiny red anchor. It radiates a sense of calm authority. It does not wither quickly like the delicate ink cap. It persists, hardening, becoming a permanent fixture of the forest. Feel the shen of the reishi entering your own chest, a heavy, warm, grounding light that settles your heart and tells you that you have all the time in the world. From the grounding wood of the reishi, we dive into a hallucination of the sea. The forest floor suddenly transforms into a coral reef. Sprouting from the moss are the coral fungi, upright, branching structures that look exactly like the marine life found at the bottom of the ocean. Visualize these delicate, finger-like branches reaching up. Some are pale yellow, others a vibrant pink or a ghostly white. They fork and divide, creating a miniature thicket, a forest within a forest. There is a sense of displacement here that is dreamlike. Why is the ocean floor growing under the oak trees? It reminds us that life repeats its best designs. The same fractals that shape the rivers and the veins in your lungs shape these fungi. Imagine yourself shrinking down and walking through a grove of coral fungi. The branches tower over you, swaying slightly in the breeze just as sea fans sway in the current. It is a silent underwater world made of air and earth. The light here is filtered and green, enhancing the feeling of being submerged. Float through this coral garden, feeling the weightlessness of the deep ocean, the quiet suspension where gravity loses its hold and you're free to drift among the beautiful branching forms. Navigating through the coral, we spot a flash of colour that seems too vibrant for the brown palette of the autumn woods. Nestled among the dead leaves is the amethyst deceiver. In a world of beige, tan and rust, this mushroom is a shocking, brilliant violet. Visualize the entire mushroom, cap, gills and stem, saturated in this deep, royal purple. It looks like a gem that has pushed its way out of the soil. As the mushroom ages, this vibrant purple begins to fade, turning to a pale lilac, and eventually to white, blending in with the forest floor. This is why it is called the deceiver. It changes its identity as it grows, but catch it in its youth, and it is a marvel. Purple is the colour of the crown chakra, of higher wisdom and magic. To find one is to feel a spark of discovery, a realization that the earth hides jewels for those who look. Imagine holding this small purple treasure. It feels cool and smooth. It is a reminder that vibrancy exists even in the darkest places, that beneath the layer of ordinary leaves there is always the potential for a splash of extraordinary colour. Let that purple hue fill your vision, a soothing twilight colour that signals the transition from the wakeful day to the mysterious, colourful world of sleep. Leaving the smooth purple cap, we encounter a texture that is complex, pitted, and ancient. We find the morel. It does not have gills or pores. Instead, its cap looks like a honeycomb or a natural sponge, a network of ridges and pits that twist and turn in a chaotic, beautiful maze. Visualize this cone-shaped mushroom rising from the ash of a forest fire or the mulch of an orchard in late spring. It is the herald of the warming earth. The texture is key here. Imagine tracing the ridges with your finger. They are firm, rubbery and earthy, while the pits are dark and mysterious. If you were to slice a morel open, you would find it is completely hollow inside. It is a vessel of air, a shape defined by what it encloses. This hollowness makes it light, yet its structure is strong. There is a primitive quality to the morel. It looks like something that grew before history began. It smells of deep, musk-filled earth and nuttiness. Imagine wandering through the ridges of the morel's cap like a traveller in a labyrinth. But this is a maze with no minotaur, only the safe, winding paths of nature's design, leading you deeper into a state of relaxed, earthy contemplation. Finally, we come to rest at the foot of a massive ancient beech tree. Protruding from its trunk is a shelf so large and flat it could serve as a seat for a small child. This is the artist's conch. Its upper surface is hard, grey and bumpy, like the bark of the tree itself, but underneath, the pore surface is a canvas of pure, pristine white. This surface has a unique property. If you scratch it, the white instantly turns to a permanent dark brown. It is nature's drawing paper. Artists have used these mushrooms for centuries to etch landscapes and portraits that last for decades. Visualize this vast white expanse on the underside of the mushroom. It is flawless, waiting. In your mind, imagine taking a small stick and gently drawing a line across it. The line appears instantly, dark and rich against the white. You can draw your dreams here. You can write the things you wish to release, etching them into the fungus where they will be held forever. The artist's conch is a perennial. It grows a new layer of pores every year, burying the old surface, keeping the secrets of the past safe within its woody heart. It is a symbol of memory and permanence. Feel the solidity of this great shelf, a living platform that records the touch of the breeze and the scratch of the beetle, holding the history of the forest in its silent white grain. Let your own thoughts settle onto this white surface, becoming still, becoming permanent, becoming part of the quiet, enduring legacy of the wood. Leaving the solid, enduring canvas of the artist's conch, where memories are etched into the very grain of the wood, we drift toward a creature that challenges our most basic understanding of connection and identity. Resting on a piece of decaying hardwood, seemingly ordinary and widespread, is the split-gill mushroom. To the eye, it is a modest fan, white or grey, with gills that appear to be split down the middle, like the pages of a book falling open. But beneath this humble exterior lies a biological universe of infinite possibility. In the human world, and indeed in most of the animal kingdom, we are accustomed to the binary of sexes, a simple duality. The split gill, however, operates on a scale of compatibility that is staggering to conceive. It possesses more than 20,000 distinct mating types. Visualize this for a moment. A society where almost every individual you meet is a potential partner, where the barriers to connection are practically non-existent. It is a biological open door, a system designed for supreme adaptability. Imagine the genetic freedom of such an existence. There are no rigid boundaries here, only a vast fluid potential for union. As you visualize this small, fan-shaped fungus clinging to a fallen branch, consider the invisible web of compatibility it represents. It teaches us that nature does not favour division, it favours connection. It seeks to combine, to mix, to merge in as many ways as possible. Let your mind expand to encompass this number, 20,000 paths to unity, and feel the restrictions of your own world loosening. Here, in the quiet logic of the mushroom, there is no isolation, only an endless mathematical embrace that ensures life finds a way to continue, no matter where the spore might land. From this invisible complexity, our attention shifts to a spectacle that is viscerally, shockingly visible. We move to the mossy floor of a coniferous forest to witness the Hydnellum pecci, known evocatively as the bleeding tooth fungus. Do not let the name alarm you. There is no pain here, only a stunning display of hydraulic pressure and colour. Visualize a lumpy, irregular shape rising from the pine needles, coloured in shades of cream and pink, looking much like a discarded piece of velvet or a raw scallop. But the surface is what holds the eye. Dotting the pale flesh are droplets of thick, brilliant red liquid. It looks for all the world like ruby beads of jam squeezed out onto a biscuit, or blood rising to the surface of a creature that has no skin. This is the process of guttation. The mushroom is drinking in so much water from the damp soil that it must release the excess, pushing it out through its pores in these perfect crimson spheres. Imagine the contrast of the scene, the dark, muted greens of the forest floor, the pale white of the fungus, and these shocking jewels of red fluid. It is a phenomenon that looks violent but is actually a sign of abundance. The earth is so full of water, so rich with life, that it simply overflows. Reach out in your mind and touch one of the droplets. It is wet, sticky, and cool. It is the blood of the earth, filtered through the strange alchemy of the fungus, presented as a gift to the eyes. It reminds us that nature is not always subtle. Sometimes it paints in bold, saturated primaries, creating a visual feast that startles us into a deeper state of awareness. Leaving the damp, mossy lowlands, our spirit begins to ascend. We drift upward, climbing the rugged slopes of the Himalayas, rising higher and higher until the trees thin out and the air becomes thin and crisp. Here, on the roof of the world, hidden among the high-altitude grasses and the grazing yaks, lives the legendary Ophiocordyceps sinensis, often called the winter worm summergrass. This is a story of profound transformation. The fungus begins its life by embracing a ghost moth larva buried in the soil. Through the long, frozen winter, they are one entity, buried in the dark. But as the snow melts and the spring sun touches the high meadows, the fungus consumes the caterpillar and sends a small, dark stalk shooting up from the earth, reaching for the heavens. It is a creature that crosses the boundary between the animal and the fungal kingdoms. Visualize this high alpine meadow, surrounded by snow-capped peaks that pierce the blue sky. The wind here is pure and cold. You are hunting for a tiny dark protrusion in the grass, a needle in a haystack. This mushroom is prized above gold, sought after for centuries as a source of vitality and energy. It represents the ultimate cycle of sacrifice and rebirth. The caterpillar gives everything so that the mushroom may rise. It is a somber but beautiful trade, a reminder that life is a constant exchange of energy. Nothing is lost, it merely changes form. Feel the thin, cold air filling your lungs, bringing with it a clarity that belongs only to the mountains. Here, in the silence of the high peaks, life finds a way to persist, turning the sleeping worm into a waking wonder that bridges the earth and the sky. From the slow, seasonal growth of the high mountains, we zoom down to the grassy pastures of the lowlands to witness a feat of speed that defies the laws of physics. Here, growing on the humble dung of grazing herbivores, is the Pilobolus, also known as the dung cannon or the hat thrower. It is a tiny, crystal-clear stalk, topped with a black spore packet, looking like a miniature glass wand balancing a cannonball. This microscopic fungus faces a challenge. It must get its spores away from the zone of the dung and onto the fresh grass where a cow might eat it, continuing the cycle. To do this, it has evolved into a biological sniper. Visualize the stalk of the Pilobolus. It is filled with pressurized fluid. At the base, there is a swollen bulb that acts as a lens, detecting the direction of the sun. The fungus actually aims itself, bending toward the light, calculating the trajectory. Then, in a fraction of a second, faster than the blink of an eye, faster than a speeding bullet, the stalk bursts. The black cap is launched into the air at 45 miles per hour, experiencing an acceleration of 20,000 Gs. It is the fastest flight in the natural world. Visualize this explosion in extreme slow motion. The crystal stalk ruptures, a spray of fluid glitters in the sunlight, and the spore packet sails through the air in a perfect arc, landing feet away in the green grass. It is a triumph of engineering, a tiny pressurized rocket launch happening silently in the pasture. It speaks to the incredible force contained in the smallest of things, the pressure building up until it transforms into a glorious, light-seeking release. While the Palobolus exhibits the genius of ballistics, our next subject demonstrates the genius of the maze. We turn our attention to the slime mold, specifically Physarum polycephalum, the many-headed slime. Though modern science places it in a kingdom of its own, it has long been the companion of the mycologist, a creeping, pulsing cousin of the mushroom world. Visualize a vibrant yellow network, looking like a spilled web of mustard, pulsing rhythmically on a decaying log. This organism has no brain, no neurons, no eyes. Yet, it possesses a form of intelligence that shames our sophisticated machines. If you place a slime mold at the entrance of a maze and a flake of oat at the exit, it will explore every corridor, retracting from the dead ends and strengthening its connection along the shortest, most efficient path. Imagine this yellow lattice spreading out like a slow-moving thought. It flows. It remembers. In a famous experiment, scientists arranged oat flakes in the pattern of Tokyo and its surrounding cities. The slime mold grew to connect them, recreating the efficient design of the Tokyo railway system in a matter of hours. A design that took human engineers decades to perfect. Watch the slow, rhythmic pulsation of the protoplasm in your mind's eye. It expands, then contracts, pushing fluid and nutrients through its veins. It is a river of intelligence, solving the problems of space and distance without a single thought. It is a comforting realization. The universe itself is intelligent. You do not always need to overthink to find the answer. Sometimes, you only need to feel your way forward, retracting from what does not serve you and flowing effortlessly toward what nourishes you. Drifting away from the pulsing yellow logic, we find ourselves in the ancient temperate rainforests of the southern hemisphere, in Tasmania, Australia, or Chile. Here, where the tree ferns unfurl their giant fronds, we find a remnant of the supercontinent Gondwana. Lighting up the gloom of the rotting wood is the Mycena interrupta, affectionately known as the pixie's parasol. While most mushrooms dress in earth tones, this tiny wonder wears a gown of shocking electric blue. It is the colour of a tropical ocean or a summer sky, completely out of place in the dark understory. Visualize a cluster of these tiny mushrooms, no larger than a fingernail. The cap is round and convex, a perfect blue button that looks as though it has been glazed with porcelain. As it matures, the centre remains a deep sapphire blue, while the edges pale to a frosty white, creating a halo effect. They look like street lamps for the insects, or umbrellas left behind by the smallest spirits of the wood. There is a delicacy here that demands your gentlest attention. They are ephemeral, appearing after the rain and vanishing quickly, a brief flash of brilliance. To see one is to feel a surge of whimsy, a reminder that nature has a sense of style. Imagine sitting in the damp, fern-filled gully, the air heavy with the scent of eucalyptus and decay, and focusing entirely on this single perfect dot of blue. It anchors your vision, a cool, calming point of colour that radiates a quiet fairy tale magic, inviting you to shrink down and rest beneath its azure canopy. From the cool blue of the southern forests, we travel to the pine groves of Japan, to a landscape that has known great devastation. Here, pushing up through the disturbed sandy soil, is the matsutake. It is a mushroom of rough beauty, brown and scaled, smelling intensely of pine resin, cinnamon, and spice. But its true power lies in its resilience. The matsutake is known as the first living thing to emerge from the ashes of Hiroshima after the atomic bomb. When the world was scorched and barren, when nothing else could grow, the matsutake rose. It thrives in disruption. It prefers forests that are not perfect, soils that have been troubled. It forms a deep symbiotic bond with the red pine, a relationship born of necessity. Visualize the harvest of this precious fungus. It is hidden beneath the needle litter, giving itself away only by its powerful, spicy aroma. Unearthing one is like finding a hidden reservoir of strength. Hold the heavy, thick stem in your hand. It feels solid, substantial. It is the physical embodiment of hope. It teaches us that even after the greatest fires, after the most total destruction, life returns. And it does not just return, it returns with flavour, with scent, with a high value that commands respect. Breathe in the imaginary scent of the matsutake, spicy, clean, and earthy. It is the scent of survival, clearing your airways and strengthening your resolve to grow through whatever challenges the soil of your life might present. The scent of spice fades, replaced by the damp, clean smell of an oak forest in eastern North America. We are looking for another splash of blue, but this time the colour is not just on the surface. We find the indigo milkcap. It is a sturdy, funnel-shaped mushroom, coloured a dusty denim blue with concentric rings of darker azure. But the true magic happens when the flesh is broken. Visualise running your fingernail gently along the gills of this mushroom. Immediately a liquid wells up. But it is not the white milk of ordinary mushrooms, nor the clear water of the bleeding tooth. It is a vivid, startlingly deep blue milk. It looks like indigo dye, thick and rich. As the air touches this blue latex, it slowly oxidizes, turning to a deep green. This is a painting in motion. The mushroom bleeds the colour of the midnight sky. It is a rare and beautiful chemistry. Imagine slicing the mushroom and watching the blue milk drip onto the brown leaves, a contrast that seems almost artificial, yet is entirely natural. There is a mystery in this colour. Blue is rare in nature, usually reserved for flowers or feathers, but here it is in the very blood of the fungus. It invites you to wonder what other secrets are hidden inside the ordinary shapes around you. Let the deep indigo colour wash over your mind, a colour of deep sleep, of the heavy ocean, of the sky just before the stars appear, soothing and deepening your rest. From the deep blue, we move to a sensation of smell, and a strategy of attraction that is as old as the hills. We encounter the stinkhorn family, specifically the common stinkhorn. It begins its life as a white egg-like structure buried in the mulch, soft and gelatinous. You might mistake it for a reptile's egg, but then, with terrifying speed, it hatches. In a matter of hours, a phallic, spongy stalk erupts from the egg, expanding with hydraulic force, reaching upward. The tip is covered in a dark olive-green slime. To the human nose, the scent is repulsive, the smell of carrion, of rotting meat. But to the fly, it is the most beautiful perfume in the world. Visualize this rapid ascent. It is a mushroom built for speed and deception. It does not wait for the wind. It calls for a taxi. The flies, buzzing with excitement, land on the cap, eager to feast on the sugary, smelly slime. As they walk, the spores stick to their legs. When they fly away, they carry the mushroom's legacy to new pastures. There is a cleverness here, a shameless embrace of the gross to achieve a goal. The stinkhorn does not care about human aesthetics. It cares about survival. It teaches us that beauty is subjective. What repels one attracts another. Watch the flies dance around the stalk in your mind, a busy, buzzing cloud of life. The mushroom stands tall, triumphant, having successfully tricked the world into doing its bidding. It is a lesson in using what you have, even if it is a little messy, to get exactly where you need to go. Finally, we leave the land entirely. We drift toward the Rogue River in Oregon, where the water flows clear and cold over smooth stones. Here, in the rushing current, we find a creature that should not exist. Satharella aquatica, the underwater mushroom. Until recently, it was believed that gill-bearing mushrooms could not survive submersion. They would drown, their spores would wash away uselessly. But here, anchored to submerged wood in the middle of the river, grips a small, fragile-looking mushroom with a pale cap. It lives its entire life underwater. The current pulls at it, rippling its flesh, but it holds on. Visualize looking down through the crystal-clear water. Sunlight refracts through the ripples, dancing in patterns of light and shadow on the riverbed. There, swaying in the flow like a piece of aquatic grass, is the mushroom. A bubble of air might be trapped under its cap, shimmering like a pearl. It releases its spores not into the wind but into the water, allowing the river to carry them downstream to lodge in new driftwood. There is a supreme peace in this image. The mushroom does not fight the river. It has become part of the river. It is washed clean every second of every day. It is cool, weightless, and perfectly adapted to the flow. Imagine yourself as that underwater mushroom. The currents of life rush past you, noisy and chaotic, but you are anchored. You are calm. You are submerged in a world of silence and refracted light, letting the water move around you, safe in your unique place in the universe, the only one of your kind who learned to breathe beneath the waves. Flowing from the cool, submerged silence of the riverbed, where the water smooths the stones and the underwater mushroom sways in the current, our mind travels upstream, following the water back to its frozen source. We ascend to the high, glacial passes of the Alps, where the world is locked in a timeless embrace of ice and snow. Here, preserved for 5,000 years in a tomb of ice, lay the traveller known as Ötzi, and strung on a leather thong around his neck he carried 2 lumps of corky brown fungus. This is the birch polypore, and its presence tells a story of ancient wisdom that whispers across the millennia. Visualize this prehistoric traveller walking through a world without hospitals, without pharmacies, carrying his survival kit against his chest. The birch polypore, Piptoporus betulinus, is a shelf fungus that grows exclusively on birch trees, looking like a smooth beige kidney. To the touch, it is rubbery and tough, skin-like and resilient. Ötzi knew, with a knowledge passed down through generations of firelight stories, that this fungus was medicine. It contains oils that fight parasites, a natural antibiotic that soothed his ancient ailments. Imagine the comfort of that weight around his neck. It was not just a mushroom, it was a talisman of health, a guarantee that the forest had provided a cure for the invisible enemies within. Feel the texture of that dried fungus in your own hand, light, corky, and smelling faintly of the sweet antiseptic aroma of birch tar. It serves as a reminder that we have never been truly alone. The fungi have been our silent doctors, our travel companions, walking with us out of the Stone Age, preserved in the ice to remind us of the bond between human survival and the fungal kingdom. From the silent, frozen preservation of the ice, we move to a different kind of preservation, one of sound. We travel to the violin workshops of 17th century Italy, to the hands of Antonio Stradivari. For centuries, the world has wondered why these instruments sing with a voice that cannot be replicated. The secret, it seems, lies in the wood and the fungus that lived within it. Visualize a log of spruce floating in a slow, cold river, waiting to be seasoned. In the water, a specific fungus, Physisporinus, begins to eat the wood, but it does not destroy it. It gently consumes the cell walls, thinning them out, making the wood less dense but structurally sound. It is a microscopic carving, a hollowing out of the heavy matter to create a lattice of pure resonance. When this wood is dried and carved into a violin, it vibrates with a freedom that dense wood cannot match. Imagine the drawing of a bow across those strings. The sound is rich, warm and golden, a vibration that seems to hang in the air like dust motes in a sunbeam. This music is a collaboration between the craftsmanship of the human hand and the digestion of the fungus. The mushroom prepared the wood to sing. Let that imaginary music wash over you, the deep, soulful notes of a cello or the soaring cry of a violin, knowing that every note is made possible by the tiny invisible hollows carved by a fungus in the dark. The fungus does not only carve sound into wood, it also draws maps. As we examine the timber of a fallen beech tree, we notice intricate black lines winding through the grain, looking like the borders of countries on an antique map or the calligraphy of a forgotten language. This is spalted wood, and the black lines are the fences erected by warring fungi. Visualize the slow-motion battle that creates this art. A colony of fungus inhabits one end of the log, and a different colony inhabits the other. Where they meet, they do not merge. They build a wall. They secrete melanin, the same pigment in our skin, to create a dark, waterproof barrier to protect their territory. These zone lines remain long after the fungi are gone, a permanent record of their silent struggle. To the woodworker, this is prized beauty. To the dreamer, it is a lesson in boundaries. Trace these winding black lines with your eyes. They wander organically, never moving in a straight line, following the path of least resistance. The wood between the lines is often bleached white, or coloured with hues of pink and grey by the fungal pigments. It is a natural mosaic, a stained glass window made of timber. There is a deep peace in realising that even conflict in nature leaves behind something beautiful. The struggle for resources results in a masterpiece of line and form, a map of territories that invites you to get lost in its wandering ink-like trails. Resting atop one of these rotting, spalted logs, we find a mushroom that seems to have been crafted from the finest wrinkled satin. This is the wrinkled peach, Rhodotus palmatus. In a forest of browns and greys, it stands out with a soft salmon-pink glow, a gentle pastel beacon of the undergrowth. Visualize the cap of this mushroom. It is not smooth. It is covered in a gelatinous, rubbery network of white ridges that form a reticulated pattern, looking exactly like the veins on a human hand or the wrinkling skin of a ripening peach. The light catches these ridges, making the mushroom look wet and glistening, as if it has just emerged from a bath. It is a semi-transparent wonder, glowing with an inner light when the sun hits it. Reach out and imagine touching it. It is cool, clammy, and incredibly soft, a texture that is almost flesh-like. It exudes a faint, fruity aroma, a whisper of apricot in the damp wood. This mushroom is a rare beauty, a fleeting moment of colour that speaks to the softness of nature. It does not have the hard shell of a nut or the bark of a tree. It is vulnerable, open, and exquisitely detailed. Let the soft pink colour fill your mind, a colour of gentle sunrises and soft skin, soothing your eyes and softening your thoughts. From the visible softness of the wrinkled peach, we shrink down to the microscopic dust that floats through the forest air, seeking the seeds of the most delicate flowers on earth, the orchids. We often think of plants as independent, growing from the sun and rain, but the orchid is a child that cannot grow without a fungal mother. Visualize an orchid seed. It is incredibly small, like a speck of dust. It has no food reserves, no energy to start its life. If it falls on sterile soil, it will sleep forever. It waits. It waits for a specific fungus to find it. When the hyphae of the fungus penetrate the seed, they do not eat it. Instead, in a reversal of the usual order, the fungus begins to pump nutrients into the seed. It feeds the baby orchid, nursing it in the dark soil for years before the first green leaf ever sees the sun. Imagine this silent nursery underground. The tiny orchid protocorm is glowing with life, fed by the umbilical cord of the mycelium. It is a relationship of absolute trust. The flower owes its entire existence to the fungus. There is a profound comfort in this dependency, in knowing that even if you have nothing, even if you are small and powerless, there are forces waiting in the dark to find you, to nourish you, and to help you grow until you are ready to bloom. Leaving the underground nursery, we travel to the arid savannas of Africa, where the heat shimmers off the ground. Here, rising like cathedrals of clay, are the mounds of the termites. These towering structures, some standing 20 feet high, are not just piles of dirt. They are the chimneys of a vast air-conditioned city that runs on fungal power. Inside the mound, deep in the cool dark, the termites are farming. They're cultivating a specific fungus, Termitomyces, on combs of chewed wood. The termites cannot digest the wood themselves, so they build these intricate sponge-like gardens where the fungus breaks it down for them. In return, the fungus produces tiny, nutrient-rich pearls for the termites to eat. Visualize the constant rhythmic activity of this colony. It is a superorganism, millions of insects and a massive fungal network working as one. The mound is designed to catch the wind, funneling fresh air down to the fungus gardens to keep them at the perfect temperature and humidity. It is a triumph of biological engineering. Smell the scent of the mound. It is earthy, musky, and rich like baking bread. It is the smell of a perfect ecosystem. The fungus is the heart of the colony, the external stomach that digests the world. Feel the coolness of the air circulating in the mound, a respite from the hot sun, a protected, climate-controlled sanctuary where life flourishes in the dark. Moving from the busy, rustling city of the termites, we drift back to the quiet, damp woodlands of the temperate zone. We look for a dead elder tree, its branches covered in moss. Growing from the bark are strange gelatinous cups that look uncannily like human ears. This is Auricularia, the wood ear jelly fungus. Visualize the texture of this organism. It is soft, wobbly, and cool, reddish-brown and translucent like amber. It has the intricate folds and ridges of an ear, listening to the silence of the forest. In the rain, it swells and becomes velvety and slick. If you were to touch it, it would wiggle under your finger, a playful, gummy consistency. There is a folklore that says these fungi are the ears of the trees recording the history of the woods. Imagine whispering a secret into one of these soft brown ears. It absorbs the sound, holding it in its jelly-like flesh. It does not judge, it only listens. The wood ear reminds us of the importance of receptivity. It does not aggressively hunt for food. It waits, it absorbs, it listens to the wind and the rain. Let yourself become like the wood ear, soft, pliable and open, simply receiving the vibrations of the world without needing to respond, resting in a state of pure, gel-like relaxation. This theme of listening and silence brings us to the future of our own dwellings. Deep in the laboratories of sustainable design, the root structure of mushrooms, the mycelium, is being taught to build. We are learning to grow silence, visualize a brick. But this is not a heavy red clay brick fired in a kiln. It is a brick grown from agricultural waste, corn stalks or sawdust, bound together by the white web-like network of mycelium. It is baked not to burn, but just enough to stop the growth, leaving behind a material that is strong, lightweight, and incredibly distinct to the touch. It feels like a dense foam or a soft cork. But its greatest gift is acoustic. This fungal material absorbs sound better than almost anything else. Imagine entering a room lined with these white organic panels. The noise of the outside world, the traffic, the sirens, the chatter, instantly vanishes. It is a dead room, but in the most comforting sense. The silence is heavy and soft like a blanket. The mycelium traps the sound waves in its millions of microscopic pockets. You are wrapped in a cocoon of quiet. In this fungal room, you can hear your own heartbeat. You can hear the rhythm of your own breath. It is a sanctuary grown from nature, a literal wall of peace that protects you from the cacophony of the modern world. As we sit in this quiet, grown room, we consider the waste that usually clutters our lives. We think of plastic, the material that never dies. But nature, in its infinite adaptability, has found a way. We turn our mind's eye to the Amazon rainforest, where a humble fungus named Pestalozziopsis microspora was discovered. This fungus has a remarkable appetite. It eats polyurethane. It can survive on a diet of plastic alone, even in an airless environment. Visualize a landfill, a scar on the landscape, filled with the refuse of human consumption. Now, imagine a wave of this green mycelium spreading over the plastic mountains. It is a slow, silent feast. The fungus breaks down the chemical bonds that were thought to be unbreakable. It dissolves the synthetic and returns it to the organic cycle. It is a vision of ultimate redemption. It tells us that there is no such thing as a way, but there is such a thing as transformation. Even the most stubborn artificial mistakes can be digested and healed by the patient work of the fungus. Feel a sense of relief wash over you. The burden of the world's waste is heavy, but there are billions of microscopic allies working to lighten the load, turning the plastic back into soil, cleaning the earth while we sleep. Finally, we cast our gaze upward, far beyond the landfill, far beyond the mountain peaks, into the black, silent vacuum of space. We contemplate the theory of panspermia and the incredible hardiness of the fungal spore. Experiments have shown that lichen and fungal spores can survive the harsh environment of outer space. Visualize a small cluster of spores clinging to the outside of a rock or a spacecraft, drifting through the cosmos. There is no air, the temperature is near absolute zero, and the radiation is intense. Yet the spore does not die. It enters a state of dormancy so deep it is indistinguishable from death, shielding its genetic code in a fortress of microscopic armor. It is a cosmic traveler, drifting between the stars, waiting for 1,000,000 years to find a new world. Imagine yourself as that spore. You're floating in the vast velvet blackness of the universe. There is no gravity to pull you down. There is no sound. You're weightless, timeless, and indestructible. You're a seed of life sailing on the solar wind. The stars are distant diamonds, steady and unblinking. You're in no rush. You have eternity. This is the ultimate detachment, the ultimate freedom. You're a speck of potential in the infinite dark, safe in the knowledge that you can endure anything, that you're made of stardust and resilience, drifting slowly, peacefully, through the endless, comforting night. Drifting down from the star-studded void, our consciousness returns to the heavy, grounded reality of Earth, but we land in a place that humanity has abandoned. We find ourselves in the silent concrete corridors of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Here, where invisible waves of radiation permeate the air, a different kind of life has found a way to not just survive, but to feast. We turn our gaze to the walls of the ruined reactor, where black stains are spreading. This is Cryptococcus neoformans, a radiotrophic fungus. Visualize this organism, dark as ink, clinging to the cold concrete. It is rich in melanin, the same pigment that colours human skin and protects our eyes. But here, the melanin serves a miraculous purpose. It acts like a solar panel, but for gamma rays. Imagine the invisible, destructive energy of radiation hitting the fungal wall. Instead of destroying the cells, the energy is caught, transformed and converted into chemical fuel. It is eating the very force that drives others away. There is a profound resilience in this image. In the heart of danger, in a place defined by its toxicity, life has adapted to turn the poison into dinner. It is a shield of biological darkness. Imagine yourself wearing a coat made of this fungi, a heavy protective layer that absorbs the negativity and harsh energy of the world, transmuting it into strength. It is the ultimate alchemy, turning the invisible fire of radiation into the cool, dark growth of life, proving that there is no environment too harsh for the fungal kingdom to conquer. If these organisms can transmute energy, perhaps it is no surprise that they can also conduct it. We shift our attention from the silent walls of the reactor to the damp floor of a living forest, pressing our ear against the moss to listen to a conversation that is happening beneath us. Scientists have discovered that mushrooms communicate using spikes of electrical activity, a language of voltage that runs through the mycelial network. Visualize the forest floor not as a collection of separate plants, but as a giant throbbing brain. The mycelium acts like neural tissue. When a mushroom at the edge of the wood encounters a new food source or a threat, it sends an electrical signal zipping down the white threads to its neighbours, The rhythm of these spikes is uncannily similar to human speech. Some studies suggest a vocabulary of up to 50 distinct words, organised into sentences. Imagine this slow, subterranean dialogue. It is not a frantic chatter, but a deep, rolling hum of information. Here is water. Here is danger. Here is sugar. It is a communal awareness. Feel the pulses of electricity moving under your feet, a constant low-voltage hum of connection. It means that the forest is never truly silent. It is always thinking, always sharing, always whispering to itself in a language of sparks and current. Let this knowledge comfort you, that you're walking atop a sleeping mind, vast and benevolent, that has been talking to itself for millions of years. Following these electrical whispers deep into the tropical rainforests of Central America, we encounter a civilization that mastered agriculture millions of years before humans existed. We find a line of leafcutter ants, marching like a green river, each carrying a fragment of a leaf above its head like a banner. But they do not eat these leaves. They are harvesting them for their god. Follow the ants down into the cool, dark tunnels of their underground city. Here, in chambers controlled for humidity and temperature, lies the garden. It is a massive, sponge-like structure of pure white fungus, Leucoagaricus gongulophorus. The ants feed the leaves to the fungus, chewing them into a pulp. In return, the fungus breaks down the tough plant matter and produces tiny, protein-rich swellings called gongulidia, which the ants eat. Visualize this perfect white garden in the dark. It is meticulous. The ants constantly prune it, clean it, and remove any weed fungi that try to invade. It is a relationship of absolute devotion. The queen ant, when she flies off to start a new colony, carries a small pellet of this fungus in her mouth, the seed of her civilization. It is a bond that has never been broken. Imagine the peace of this symbiotic loop. The ants protect the fungus, and the fungus feeds the ants. There is no waste, no conflict, only the quiet, busy work of maintaining the white garden that sustains them all. From the organised architectural gardens of the ants, we travel to the base of an ancient pine tree in the northern hemisphere to find a fungus that mimics the chaos of a cloud or the complexity of a brain. This is the cauliflower fungus, Sparasis crispa. It is a massive, sprawling structure, often the size of a beach ball, sitting proudly on the forest floor. Visualize its texture. It is composed of hundreds of flat, wavy lobes, creamy yellow or pale tan, packed together like ruffles of egg noodles or the petals of a giant chaotic flower. It looks like a sea sponge that has found its way to the woods. To the touch, it is firm yet brittle, crisp like a fresh lettuce leaf. It has a distinct clean aroma, smelling faintly of pine resin and musk. Unlike the hidden mycelium or the fleeting ink cap, the cauliflower fungus is a monument of biomass. It sits there, heavy and intricate, a labyrinth of flesh. Imagine running your fingers through its endless folds, tracing the wavy edges that curve back on themselves again and again. It is a fractal shape, repeating its pattern from the centre outward. There is a deeply satisfying complexity to it, a reminder that nature loves to fold space, creating massive surface area within a compact form. Let your mind get lost in the endless ruffles, a soothing, repetitive maze of cream and gold that holds the quiet light of the forest floor. The golden hue of the cauliflower fungus brings to mind the colour of honey and sweet wine. We drift now to a vineyard in the mist-covered valleys of France, where a fungus performs a magic trick that is prized by kings. This is Botrytis cinerea, known to the winemakers as noble rot. In most gardens, grey mould is a curse, but here, under the right conditions, it is a blessing. Visualise a cluster of grapes hanging on the vine in late autumn. The morning mist rolls in, damp and cool, encouraging the fungus to settle on the skin of the fruit. The fungus pierces the skin, not to destroy the grape, but to drink its water. As the sun burns off the mist in the afternoon, the grapes shrivel, turning into raisins that look unappealing, brown and withered. But inside, something miraculous is happening. The sugar and the acids are being concentrated, becoming incredibly intense. The fungus adds its own notes of honey, apricot, and spice. Imagine the scent of this vineyard. It is the smell of fermentation, of ripe fruit, of sweet decay. It is the smell of gold. From these shriveled, fungal-infected grapes comes the sweetest, most complex dessert wine in the world. It teaches us that beauty can come from withering, that sweetness can be born from what looks like ruin. Let yourself relax into this transformation, feeling the concentration of your own energy, sweetening and deepening as the superfluous water of the world evaporates away. From the golden brown of the vineyard, we seek a splash of tropical colour in the damp, mossy grasslands of Europe. We find the parrot wax cap, a small mushroom that seems to have been dipped in liquid-stained glass. When it first emerges, it is a brilliant, shocking green, the green of a parrot's feather or a lime lollipop, but it is the texture that captivates. Visualize the cap, bell-shaped and coated in a thick, glutinous layer of slime. It is incredibly slippery, gleaming wetly even on a dry day. As the mushroom ages, the green begins to fade. It turns to yellow, then to orange, and finally to a pale pink, sometimes displaying all these colours at once in a psychedelic gradient. It is a chameleon of the fungal world. Imagine trying to hold one. It would slip through your fingers like a wet seed. This slime is a protective barrier, keeping the mushroom hydrated. There is a playfulness to the parrot wax cap. It looks like a toy, a glossy, colourful bauble dropped in the grass. It reminds us that nature is not always serious and earthy. It can be shiny, viscous, and vibrant. Let the slippery, cool texture of the wax cap soothe your mind, sliding away any friction or rough thoughts, leaving only a polished, gleaming surface of bright, happy colour. The transformation of the parrot wax cap is subtle compared to the shape-shifting horror and beauty of our next discovery. We find a red cedar tree in the rain. Hanging from its branches are hard, brown, golf ball-sized galls. They look like woody tumours, lifeless and dry. But as the warm spring rain begins to fall, a metamorphosis occurs. This is the cedar apple rust. Visualize the water soaking into the hard brown ball. Suddenly, bright orange gelatinous tentacles begin to erupt from the surface. They extend outward, long and tapered, looking like the arms of a sea anemone or a creature from another planet. The entire structure transforms into a shocking bright orange sphere of jelly, trembling in the rain. It is known as a teleal horn. These gelatinous tentacles release spores that will not infect the cedar, but will travel on the wind to find an apple tree, completing a complex two-host life cycle. There is a strange, alien beauty to this event. Imagine standing under the cedar tree watching these orange stars bloom in the grey rain. They look gummy, like orange marmalade brought to life. It is a display of hydration power, of hidden potential waiting for the catalyst of water to burst forth. It teaches us that things are not always what they seem. A hard, dry exterior can hide a soft, vibrant and expansive nature, just waiting for the right conditions to reveal itself. Leaving the orange tentacles swaying in the rain, we look down to the leaf litter to find a mushroom that shrouds itself in mystery. We find the cortinarius, or the webcap. In its youth, this mushroom protects its gills with a delicate structure called a cortina. Visualize a fine, cobweb-like veil stretching between the stem and the rim of the cap. It is spun from silken fibres, finer than hair, often shimmering with a rusty or violet hue. This veil creates a private enclosed chamber for the developing spores, shielding them from the drying wind and hungry insects. As the mushroom expands, the web stretches, tearing silently, leaving a faint ring-like zone on the stem. It is a fleeting architecture, a temporary tent built for protection. Imagine the delicacy of this web. It is the gossamer thread of nature, a barrier that is barely there. There is a tenderness in this design, a desire to protect the vulnerable parts during their most crucial growth. Visualize yourself wrapped in such a web, not of sticky spider silk, but of dry, protective fungal thread. It is a filter, letting in the air but keeping out the harshness. It is a buffer zone, a soft boundary that allows you to develop your thoughts in private, safe behind the shimmering violet curtain of the cortina. As the spores from the web cap are released, they drift up, joining the billions of other spores in the atmosphere. We have spoken of spores in space, but let us look at their role in the sky above our heads. It is now believed that mushrooms help to make the rain. Visualize a single spore floating high in the atmosphere, miles above the Earth. It is a microscopic particle wandering the jet stream. In the cold upper air, water vapor needs something to cling to in order to form a droplet. It needs a nucleus. Dust can work, but fungal spores are perfect for the task. Their complex surface structure attracts water molecules. Picture the water vapor condensing onto the spore, coating it in a liquid shell. As more water gathers, it becomes heavy. It becomes a cloud droplet. Then it becomes a raindrop. The spore falls back to Earth, encased in the very rain it helped to create. It is a beautiful, self-sustaining loop. The mushrooms release spores to create the rain that the mushrooms need to grow. Imagine looking up at a heavy grey rain cloud. Know that inside those clouds are the children of the forest, summoning the water, calling the storm. It gives a sense of agency to the natural world. The weather is not just happening to the forest is participating in the weather. Feel the connection between the damp earth and the wet sky, a vertical cycle of breath and water mediated by the invisible floating spore. Finally, we bring our attention back from the clouds to the surface of our own skin. We end this cycle by acknowledging that we are not separate from the fungal world. We are a landscape for it. We are a holobiont. This is the concept that an organism is not just one individual, but a community of hosting cells and resident microbes. Visualize the surface of your skin under a microscope. It is a terrain of valleys and hills, forests of hair follicles and plains of smooth cells. And living peacefully in this landscape, particularly around your shoulders and face, are the Malassezia yeasts. They are your constant companions. They have been with you since birth. They feed on the natural oils of your skin, cleaning up, participating in the ecosystem of you. There is often a fear of the germ, but these are commensal organisms. They eat at the same table. Imagine them not as invaders, but as tiny gardeners, tending the soil of your body. You are never alone. You are a walking planet teeming with life that relies on you just as you rely on the bacteria in your gut. There is a comfort in this crowded solitude. You are a vessel of life. Accept this invisible embrace. Feel the tingling awareness that you are connected to the biological web not just by what you touch, but by what you carry. You are a guardian of a microscopic universe, a warm, living home for the quiet, invisible guests that walk with you through the dream of life. From the microscopic landscape of our own skin, where invisible yeast gardens tend the soil of our bodies, we drift to a place where humanity has taken the wild hand of nature and guided it into a new, ghostly form. We enter the quiet, cool darkness of a growing room to witness the enokitake. In the wild, clinging to the winter-battered trunk of a Chinese hackberry tree, this mushroom is known as the velvet shank. It is a sturdy, orange-brown creature with a dark, velvety stem, built to withstand the freezing winds of winter. But here, in the eternal twilight of cultivation, it has transformed into a phantom. Visualize a cluster of cultivated enoki. They are pure porcelain white, long and incredibly slender, growing in tight bunches like a sheaf of optical fibres or the bristles of a soft brush. They have stretched themselves out in the dark, reaching desperately for a light that isn't there, pinning their tiny caps atop stems that are fragile and elegant. This is a lesson in environment. The same genetic code, when placed in the dark and the cold, produces a creature of entirely different beauty. Pale, elongated, and ethereal. Imagine running your hand over the tops of these white needles. They are cool, crisp, and uniform. It is a calming vision of order and purity, a reminder that we too are shaped by the light we seek, and that even in the absence of the sun we can grow into forms of delicate, striving grace. From the delicate white fingers of the enoki, we stumble upon a sight in the beechwoods that is far more heavy and sombre, a visual trick that has startled wanderers for centuries. Pushing up from the base of a rotting stump, we see what appears to be a hand reaching from the grave. These are dead man's fingers. Visualize the texture of these club-shaped fungi. They are not soft and yielding like the enoki. They are hard, matte, and charcoal black. They grow in clusters of 3 or 4, thick and blunt, looking uncannily like the necrotic digits of a buried giant trying to claw his way back to the surface. In the spring, they may be dusted with a white powder, the asexual spores, giving them a ghostly pallor, but as they age, they harden into black crust. There is a gothic romance to this fungus. It serves as a memento mori, a natural monument to the cycle of death and decay. Yet, despite their macabre appearance, they are busy breaking down the hard wood of the stump, turning the dead tree into soft soil. Reach out in your mind and touch the rough carbon-like surface. It feels like a stone or a piece of dry wood. It is a grounding sensation, a connection to the finality and the solidity of the earth, holding the memories of the forest in its dark, unmoving grip. As we look down at the dark earth surrounding the dead man's fingers, we notice something tiny staring back at us. Nestled in the damp moss, no larger than a contact lens, is the eyelash cup. This is a fungus that seems to be watching the world with a bright red eye. Visualize a perfect concave disc, a vibrant shade of scarlet or marmalade orange. It is a splash of shock colour against the brown mud. But the true wonder lies at the rim. Circling the edge of the cup is a fringe of stiff, dark hairs, looking exactly like the eyelashes of a human eyelid. These lashes are not for vanity. They may help to trap moisture or deter insects, but to our imagination, they turn the forest floor into a gallery of eyes. They are looking up at the canopy, waiting for the rain. Imagine lying on the forest floor, cheek against the cool moss, and staring into this tiny fringed pool of red. It is a moment of connection with the very small. It feels as though the forest is not just a passive backdrop, but a living entity that observes you, blinking slowly in the humid air, watching over your rest with 1,000 tiny beautiful eyes. Lifting our gaze from the moss, we climb the trunk of a dying elm tree to find a resting place fit for a forest spirit. Extending from the bark is a massive fan-shaped shelf known as Dryad Saddle. It is one of the largest mushrooms in the woods, growing broad and flat, tough enough to support the weight of a heavy book, or perhaps, in the realm of folklore, a weary wood nymph. Visualize the pattern on the top of this saddle. It is a landscape of tan and brown scales, overlapping like the feathers of a hawk or the shingles of a rustic roof. It is wild and textured. But the true sensory gift of the Dryad Saddle is not its look, but its scent. If you were to break a piece of this fresh white flesh, you would not smell the typical musk of mushrooms. Instead, you would be hit with the crisp, watery aroma of fresh watermelon rind or sliced cucumber. It is a scent of summer, of cool hydration, unexpected and delightful in the context of the deep woods. Imagine sitting on this sturdy fungal shelf, your legs dangling, surrounded by the smell of fresh melon. It is a sensory anchor that transports you to a picnic in the shade, a moment of lightness and refreshment suspended on the side of a grey tree. Drifting on the scent of cucumber, we move deeper into the autumn woods, where the leaves are turning brown and brittle. Here, hiding under the oak trees, we find a mushroom that defies the autumn palette with a splash of pastel twilight. This is the bluet. Visualize a sturdy, thick-stemmed mushroom that seems to have been dyed in a vat of lavender and lilac. The cap is a smooth, pale tan with a violet flush, but the gills underneath are a vibrant, stunning purple. It looks like soft purple felt. As you handle it in your mind, notice the texture. It is smooth, cool and substantial, like a piece of polished suede. But once again, the scent surprises us. Bringing the bluet to your nose, you do not smell earth. You smell frozen orange juice concentrate, a distinct citrusy tang that cuts through the musty air of the forest. It is a confusing and delightful mix, the colour of a flower, the texture of suede, and the smell of breakfast. It creates a sensory synesthesia, a blending of experiences that lulls the mind. Let the purple colour wrap around you like a heavy velvet blanket, while the faint scent of citrus clears your thoughts, leaving a clean, calm space for sleep. From the gentle, felt-like comfort of the bluet, we turn to a spectacle that looks like it belongs on a coral reef or an alien planet. We find an egg, half buried in the leaf litter, soft and leathery. As we watch, the egg ruptures, and from within something red and terrifyingly beautiful emerges. This is the devil's fingers, or the octopus stinkhorn. Visualize 4 to 8 bright red, fleshy arms unfurling from the egg. They are joined at the tip at first, forming a cage, but then they peel back, arching outward like the tentacles of an octopus stranded on the land. The inner surface of these arms is covered in a dark olive-green glaber, the spore-bearing slime. While it may look sinister, like a creature hatching from a nightmare, it is simply another of nature's elaborate lures. The red colour mimics meat, the shape mimics a flower, the scent attracts the fly. There is a fascination in this unfolding. It is life bursting forth with dramatic flair. Imagine the slow motion of these red fingers stretching out, pressing against the brown leaves, claiming their space. It is a reminder that nature is not always subtle. Sometimes it shouts. It allows you to release your own need for subtlety, to visualize your own tensions uncurling and releasing, expanding outward until they are gone. We shrink down now, abandoning the visible world for the microscopic jungle of the soil. Here, in the dark, water-filled pores between grains of sand, a silent hunt is taking place. We're observing the nematode-trapping fungi. These are the cowboys of the microbial world. Visualize a microscopic worm, a nematode, swimming blindly through the soil water. It approaches a fungal thread that has formed a perfect loop, a tiny lasso made of 3 specialized cells. The worm swims through the ring. In 1/10 of a second, faster than you can blink, the cells of the ring inflate. They swell inward, crushing the worm, holding it in an inescapable grip. This is a mechanism of pure hydraulic pressure, a trap set in the dark. There is a strange comfort in this microscopic vigilance. The fungus is not aggressive, it is passive. It sets its boundaries and waits. When the boundary is crossed, it reacts with instant, decisive power. Imagine yourself possessing this kind of boundary. You do not need to chase or fight. You simply maintain your loop, your circle of safety. Anything that intrudes is handled instantly, effortlessly, by the natural mechanics of your being. You're safe in the soil, protected by 1 billion tiny lassos that guard the peace of the earth. Moving from the hunters of the soil to the farmers of the wood, we bore deep into the heart of a timber log. Here we encounter the ambrosia beetles, the tiny horticulturists of the deep grain. Unlike the bark beetles that destroy, these creatures are creators. Visualize a tiny tunnel drilled perfectly into the hardwood, a dark, cylindrical hallway. The female beetle carries spores in a special pocket on her back, a mycelium. When she bores her tunnel, she plants these spores on the walls. The fungus grows, covering the tunnel in a layer of lush, nutritious ambrosia, a specific type of fungal lawn that exists nowhere else in nature. The beetle and her larvae graze on this lawn. They do not eat the wood, they eat the fungus that eats the wood. Picture this hidden gallery inside the tree. It is a cozy, enclosed world, lined with soft white velvet. The mother beetle tends her garden, farming in the dark. It is a self-contained universe, safe from the wind and the rain outside. Imagine curling up in one of these velvet-lined corridors, protected by the solid strength of the oak tree, fed by the eternal garden on the walls. It is the ultimate safe room, a burrow of warmth and sustenance hidden deep within the solid reality of the forest. On the surface of the very tree where the beetles farm, we find a fungus that looks like it has been through a fire. Scattered on the bark of an ash tree are hard, black, hemispherical lumps. These are King Alfred's cakes, or cramp balls. They look exactly like pieces of coal or charred buns left in an oven too long. Legend says they are the cakes that King Alfred burned while hiding in a peasant's hut, distracted by his worries about the war, but these fungi hold a secret of fire within them. Beneath the black crusty surface, the interior is made of concentric silver-black rings, visible if you snap one open. This flesh is incredibly dry and dense. If a spark lands on it, it does not burst into flame, it glows. It holds the ember, smouldering slowly and intensely like a coal, passing the heat through its rings. Visualize holding one of these black spheres. It is light, hard, and smooth. It feels like a fossil. Imagine igniting one end and watching the orange glow travel slowly through the ball. A silent, creeping warmth. It is a battery of heat. It reminds us of the dormant energy stored in things that look dead or burnt. There is warmth hidden in the cold, black coal. There is light hidden in the dark. Hold this black sphere in your mind as a talisman of potential energy, a promise that even when things seem burnt out, there is a spark waiting to be caught. Finally, we descend to the deepest roots of our journey, to the intersection of biology and geology. We contemplate the fungal lust for gold. In the gold-rich soils of Western Australia, scientists have discovered that certain fungi, like the fusarium, act as biological miners. Visualize the microscopic threads of mycelium pushing through the mineral-rich earth. When they encounter particles of gold, they do not ignore them. They chemically interact with the metal, dissolving it, and then precipitating it onto their own surface. The fungal threads become encrusted with microscopic flakes of pure, glittering gold. Picture this underground treasure chamber, a web of living threads, gilded and shimmering in the absolute dark. The fungus decorates itself with the most precious metal on Earth, not for vanity, but perhaps for conductivity or protection. It is the Midas touch of the natural world. Imagine the earth beneath you is not just dirt, but a woven tapestry of gold-encrusted silk. You are resting on a treasure. The value is not in the spending, but in the knowing. Knowing that deep down, in the hidden places, life is turning the dust into gold, creating beauty where no eye will ever see it. Let this image of the golden web hold you, grounding you in a world that is rich, precious, and shimmering with silent, glittering peace. Leaving the glittering subterranean vaults where the mycelium spins dust into gold, we rise slowly back to the surface, carrying the memory of that hidden wealth. We find ourselves in an ancient pine forest where the floor is carpeted in a thick weave of brown needles. Here, growing from the base of a tree, is a fungus that hides its true colours beneath a cloak of drab camouflage. This is the dyer's polypore, also known as the velvet top. Visualize a large circular bracket, soft and fuzzy to the touch, coloured in murky shades of rusty brown, olive green, and dark yellow. It looks like the forest floor itself, a humble, earth-toned plate, but to the weaver and the artist, this fungus is a chest of buried treasure. Imagine placing this drab brown mushroom into a pot of simmering water. As the heat works its magic, the water does not turn muddy. It transforms into a liquid sun. It yields dyes of brilliant yellow, rich orange, and deep, burnished gold. There is a beautiful alchemy here, a secret stored within the cells of the fungus. It takes the decay of the wood and transmutes it into the colour of light. Visualize a skein of white wool dipped into this fungal bath, soaking up the pigment, emerging dripping with the colours of an autumn sunset. It is a reminder that we cannot judge the richness of a thing by its exterior. Beneath a rough brown velvet coat may lie the golden soul of a king, waiting only for the warmth of water and patience to reveal its true, vibrant nature. From the warm golden hues of the dyer's pot, the season shifts around us. The air grows sharp and cold, and a blanket of silence falls over the woods as the first snow covers the ground. In this white monochromatic world, we look for a spark of life, and we find it in the scarlet elf cup. Visualize a landscape of pure white snow and dark black twigs. Pushing up through the frost is a perfect shallow cup, no bigger than a coin, coloured a shocking, brilliant ruby red. It is the colour of a heartbeat in a frozen world. These cups often grow on buried sticks, appearing to float on the snow. They are the goblets of the winter fairies, collecting the morning dew. Imagine the contrast, the blinding white of the snow and the saturated red of the fungus. It is a visual shock that wakes the spirit. If you were to touch the inner surface of the cup, it is smooth and cool, while the underside is pale and downy. Sometimes, if the sun hits them just right, they release a visible puff of spores, a tiny cloud of steam rising from the red bowl. It is a scene of quiet resilience. While the rest of the forest sleeps in grey dormancy, the elf cup is wide awake, holding its red vibrancy against the cold, a reminder that passion and colour can survive even the deepest freeze. As the snow begins to melt, turning to slush and feeding the streams, the moisture awakens another dormant sleeper on the dead branches of the oak trees. We encounter the Tremella mesenterica, known by the folklore name witch's butter. In dry weather, it is nothing but a hard orange crust, invisible and shriveled. But with the rain, it performs a miracle of resurrection. Visualize a cluster of bright golden yellow jelly, lobed and folded like a brain or a flower made of marmalade. It trembles when the branch is shaken. It is translucent, catching the weak spring light and glowing from within. The texture is singular, slick, gelatinous, and yielding. It is a creature of water, swelling to hold the rain. There is a playfulness to witch's butter. It defies the rigid structure of wood and bark. It is soft, wobbly, and chaotic. It reminds us of the power of hydration, of how water can bring the dead back to life. Imagine your own spirit like this golden jelly, capable of enduring the dry spells, of shrinking down to protect yourself, and then, the moment the nourishment returns, expanding back into a bright, glowing, flexible form, trembling with the sheer joy of existence. Drifting from the bright yellow jelly, we move into the deep, shaded understory where the sun rarely touches the ground. Here, rising from the dark leaf litter, is a cluster of stems that look like they have been carved from wax or bone. This is the ghost pipe. While it is technically a plant, not a fungus, it exists only because of the fungal web. It has no chlorophyll. It is perfectly, hauntingly white. Visualize this spectral figure. It stands about 6 inches tall, a single stem curving over at the top to form a nodding bell-shaped flower. It looks like a plume of smoke frozen in time, or a mourner with their head bowed. Because it cannot photosynthesize, it parasitizes the mycorrhizal network. It taps into the fungi that are tapped into the trees. It is a ghost that eats the food of the living. But there is no malice in its appearance, only a fragile, translucent beauty. Sometimes, it is flushed with a pale pink or black speckles. Touch the stem in your mind. It is cool, brittle, and smooth. It represents the shadowed side of the forest connection. It teaches us that life can take many forms, and that even those who cannot make their own light can still find a way to bloom in the dark, fed by the invisible kindness of the underground network. Leaving the ghostly white of the shadows, we step onto a sun-dappled path and encounter royalty. Standing tall and majestic in the mulch is Agaricus Augustus, known as the Prince. It is a mushroom that commands attention, with a cap that can grow as large as a dinner plate, covered in golden-brown scales that look like the burnished armour of a knight. But the true sensory delight of the Prince is its scent. Unlike the earthy, musky smell of common mushrooms, this giant exudes a profound and sweet aroma of almonds and marzipan. Visualize kneeling beside this golden giant. You press your nose close to the veil that skirts the stem. The scent is overwhelming, sweet, nutty, and rich like a fine dessert. It is the perfume of the summer woods. Beneath the cap, the gills start as a pale pink and mature to a deep chocolate brown, hidden at first by a thick cog-wheeled veil. To find the prince is to feel a sense of discovery and reward. It stands apart from the others, grand and solitary. Let the scent of warm almonds fill your mind, a comforting, nostalgic aroma that brings with it a sense of abundance and nobility, grounding you in the sweetness of the present moment. From the golden scales of the prince, we travel to a sensation of touch and a reaction of colour that feels like magic. We find a small, nondescript brown mushroom growing in the wood chips. It looks ordinary, but reach out with your mind's finger and gently press the stem. Within seconds, a chemical alchemy occurs. The bruised flesh does not turn brown or black. It turns a vivid, deep azure blue. This is the bluing reaction, the oxidation of psilocin. It paints the mushroom in the colours of the ocean and the sky. Visualize this transformation spreading from your fingerprint, a blooming bruise of indigo dye. It looks like you have touched the mushroom with a fountain pen. This colour change is a signal, a visual language telling of the potent compounds within. But visually, it is simply stunning. It reminds us of the reactivity of nature, that nothing is static. A simple touch can alter the state of a living thing, revealing hidden depths and hidden colours. Watch the blue stain spread slowly, darkening as it oxidizes, a map of contact, a memory of where the world has touched the fungus. We sink down now, leaving the fruit bodies behind to explore the hidden infrastructure that makes the forest possible. Beneath the loose bark of a fallen oak log, we find the rhizomorphs. They are the shoestring rot, thick, black, elastic cords that look like electrical cables or bootlaces running along the wood. Visualize these black veins. They are bundles of mycelium that have hardened and fused, encased in a melanin-rich outer rind. They are the aqueducts of the fungal world. They can transport water and nutrients over vast distances, bridging the gap between a dying tree and a living one. They are tough, snapping with a crisp sound if you pull them. Imagine the forest floor as a body, and these rhizomorphs as the veins and arteries pumping life from one place to another. They are exploring, hunting, moving through the dark with a singular purpose. There is a strength in their design, a focused efficiency. They do not meander like the fine white webs. They shoot forward, insulated and protected, driven to connect. Feel the pulse of water moving through these black cords, the silent hydraulic pressure that keeps the forest hydrated and alive. Going even deeper than the veins under the bark, we enter the microscopic world inside a single blade of green grass. Here, invisible to the naked eye, live the endophytes. These are fungi that live entirely inside the cells of plants, not as parasites, but as roommates. Visualize the interior of a grass blade, a cathedral of green, translucent cells. Winding through the spaces between these cells are the thin, thread-like hyphae of the endophyte. They are the hidden protectors. In exchange for shelter, they produce alkaloids that taste bitter to grazing animals. They are the plant's chemical defense system. Imagine a cow taking a bite of grass and spitting it out, deterred by the taste of the fungus. The fungus has saved the plant. It is a Russian doll of biology, a life within a life. Every meadow you see is not just grass. It is grass filled with fungi. There is a sense of crowded intimacy here, of being woven into the very fabric of another being. It is a comfort to know that even in the solitude of a single leaf, there is company. There is a partnership working silently to ensure survival. We emerge from the microscopic leaf to the damp spring earth, looking for a vessel. We find the devil's urn, Urnula craterium. It is a dark, almost black, goblet-shaped fungus appearing just as the snow melts. It looks like a charred chalice left behind by a shadowy feast. But the devil's urn possesses a voice. It is one of the few mushrooms that makes a sound. Visualize finding a cluster of these black cups. They are closed at the top, holding in moisture and pressure. As you breathe on them, the warmth of your breath triggers a sudden change. The cup opens, and with a distinct, audible hiss, Like a tiny snake or a leaking tire, it releases a cloud of smoke. This smoke is thousands of spores being ejected at once. The sound is the sound of release. It is a biological sigh. Imagine the satisfaction of that release, the pressure building up in the dark and then letting go in a sudden whispered whoosh of freedom. It is an interactive magic. Your breath, your warmth, is the key that unlocks the urn. Listen to the hiss in the quiet woods, a secret conversation between the warmth of the living and the readiness of the fungus. Finally, we travel to the high, exposed cliffs of the Arctic, or perhaps an ancient stone statue in a quiet churchyard. We end this cycle by contemplating the measurement of time itself through the growth of lichen. This is the science of lichenometry. Visualize a splash of yellow-green map lichen, Rhizocarpon geographicum, growing on a granite boulder. It is flat, crusty, and seemingly motionless, but it is a clock. It grows at a perfectly consistent, incredibly slow rate, sometimes only a fraction of a millimeter per year. By measuring the diameter of the circle, we can know when the rock was exposed to the sunlight. We can date the retreat of glaciers, the building of statues, the tumbling of stones in an earthquake. This lichen has witnessed history in silence. A patch the size of a dinner plate may be as old as the Renaissance. A patch the size of a table may be as old as the pyramids. Touch the rough, dry surface of the lichen. You are touching deep time. It is a slow, patient accumulation of moments, a calendar written in cellular growth. It tells us that nothing is truly still. Even the stones are being marked by the passage of time, recorded by the faithful, enduring embrace of the lichen. Let your own sense of urgency fade against this timeline. Your worries are fleeting. The lichen is forever. Rest in that slowness, matching your breath to the ticking of the geological clock. From the ancient, measurable stillness of the lichen on the rock, we let our gaze slide down to the forest floor, where the wood of fallen trees tells a different story of time and colour. Walking through a damp, shadowed glen, you might see a piece of rotting oak that seems to glow with an unnatural blue-green light. This is not the bioluminescence of a living mushroom, but a stain left behind by the green elf cup, Chlorochiboria. Visualize the wood itself. It has been permeated by the mycelium, which releases a pigment called zilindane. The result is a stunning teal-coloured grain, a veritable stained glass window within the timber. Even after the tiny cup-shaped mushrooms have withered and gone, the colour remains, dyeing the wood a deep oceanic verdigris. For centuries, woodworkers have prized this green oak for intricate inlays, using the fungus's own art to decorate boxes and tables. Imagine holding a piece of this wood in your hand. It feels light, soft with decay, but the colour is vibrant, a secret turquoise hidden in the brown rot. It is a reminder that beauty often lingers long after the life that created it has passed. The fungus has moved on, but it has left its signature behind, a permanent splash of cool, aquatic colour in the warm, earth-toned palette of the forest floor. Let your mind trace the teal veins running through the wood, a map of where the life once flowed. Drifting from the matte turquoise of the stained wood, we catch a glimmer of something sparkling in the morning sun. Emerging in a dense troop from the base of an old stump is the mica cap, Coprinellus micaceus. These are small, bell-shaped mushrooms, pale brown and unassuming from a distance, but up close, they wear a crown of jewels. Visualize the cap of the mushroom, dusted with tiny, glistening granules. These are remnants of a universal veil that broke apart as the mushroom pushed through the soil. They catch the light like crushed diamonds, or flakes of the mineral mica, giving the fungus a frosted, sugar-coated appearance. This beauty is incredibly fleeting. The mica cap is ephemeral. It rises with the dawn and often dissolves into ink by the afternoon. It exists for a single moment of sparkling perfection. Imagine sitting in the grass as the sun crests the horizon, watching the light dance across these thousands of tiny glittering particles. It is a natural disco ball, a celebration of the morning. There is a sweetness to this fragility, a reminder to appreciate the glimmering moments of the present before they melt away. Let the sparkle of the maker cap hold your attention, a field of tiny stars resting on the damp earth. As the sun rises higher and the shadows deepen in the hollows of the woods, we seek a shape that embraces the dark. Hidden among the leaf litter, almost impossible to see until you look directly at it, is the black trumpet, Craterellus cornucopioides. In some lands it is called the horn of plenty, in others the trumpet of the dead. Visualize a funnel-shaped depression in the ground, dark grey to velvety black. It does not look like a mushroom. It looks like a hole in the reality of the forest floor, a pathway leading down into the underworld. The texture is dry and slightly scaly, like fine leather or ancient parchment. Unlike other mushrooms that push up with a convex cap, the black trumpet pulls down, creating a vessel. Despite its sombre appearance, it possesses a scent of incredible richness, a deep, fruity aroma reminiscent of apricots and smoke. Imagine bringing this dark funnel to your nose. It smells of the autumn earth distilled into a perfume. It teaches us that the dark places are often filled with the most flavour, that the things which camouflage themselves in the shadows hold a sweetness that the bright and flashy fungi lack. Allow yourself to sink into the velvety void of the black trumpet, drifting down into its quiet, dark centre. From the deep black of the trumpet, we witness a transformation of colour that rivals the changing leaves. We find a white, nondescript mushroom, perhaps a russula, that has been overtaken by another. This is the lobster mushroom, Hypermyces lactiflus. It is a parasite that consumes its host, but in doing so, it creates something stronger and more vibrant. Visualize the process. A plain white mushroom is enveloped by a hard, bright orange crust. The surface turns rough and bumpy, mimicking the shell of a cooked lobster. The gills beneath are smoothed over, encased in the orange layer, erasing the identity of the original host. The colour is vivid, a sunset orange, a boiled crimson, standing out starkly against the green moss. Touch the surface in your mind. It is firm, granular, and dense. It has lost the fragility of the original mushroom and gained a hearty, solid structure. It serves as a metaphor for reinvention. The lobster mushroom takes something ordinary and through a complete covering transforms it into a delicacy, changing its colour, its texture, and its destiny. Imagine that bright orange shell as a suit of armour, a colourful layer of protection that turns the soft and vulnerable into the solid and striking. Leaving the rough orange armour, we move to the soft, needle-covered floor of a pine plantation. Here we encounter a mushroom that demands a tactile interaction. We find the slippery jack, Swillus luteus. It is a bolete, meaning it has a sponge of yellow pores underneath instead of gills, but its defining feature is the texture of its cap. Visualize a chocolate brown cap covered in a thick, glutinous layer of slime. In the rain, it is incredibly slippery, almost impossible to hold. It looks wet even when it is dry. This mucus is a protective layer, guarding the mushroom against dehydration. Beneath the cap, a white, rubbery veil covers the pores, eventually tearing away to leave a purple ring on the stem. Imagine peeling the skin off the cap, a common preparation for the kitchen. It comes away in a satisfying translucent sheet, revealing the dry yellow flesh beneath. There is a playful messiness to the slippery jack. It connects you to the moisture of the forest. It is sticky, tactile, and distinct. Feel the cool, viscous texture on your fingertips, a sensation of pure organic hydration that reminds you of the water cycle flowing through the pine trees and into the fungal fruit. Wiping the pine resin and slime from our hands, we travel to a clearing where the scent of a bakery hangs in the air. We are looking for Clitophilus prunulus, known simply as the miller. In a world of damp earth and rotting leaves, this mushroom performs an olfactory miracle. It smells exactly like raw pastry dough. Visualize a small, pristine white mushroom with a cap that looks like soft white kid leather. It is soft to the touch, fragile and smooth. When you break the flesh, the scent is released. It is the smell of flour, of yeast, of unbaked bread waiting to rise. It is the smell of civilization and comfort found in the wild. Close your eyes and inhale that aroma. It transports you from the wild woods to a warm kitchen, to the safety of the hearth. It is a clean, powdery scent. The miller sits quietly in the grass, a biological mimic of our daily bread. Let that comforting smell of fresh flour settle over you, a dusty white blanket of safety that evokes memories of home and nourishment. From the smooth, white dough of the miller, we turn to a texture that is rugged, shaggy, and ancient. We find the old man of the woods, Strobilomyces strobolaceus. This mushroom does not try to look like food, it tries to look like a shadow or a pine cone. Visualize a cap covered in thick, soft, grey-black scales. It looks woolly, like a tuft of unspun sheep's wool that has been dragged through charcoal. It is a creature of texture. The stem is shaggy, the cap is flaky. It is a riot of monochrome patterns. It blends perfectly with the chaotic shadows of the forest floor. But there is a secret hidden within. If you slice the grey flesh, it instantly stains a bright, angry red, before slowly fading to black. It is a flash of internal colour in a grey exterior. Imagine running your hand over the shaggy cap. It feels soft, dry, and fibrous. There is a wisdom in its appearance, a feeling of immense age. It looks like it has stood in that spot for 1,000 years, gathering dust and shadow, a silent grey sentinel watching the seasons change. Deep in the roots of an oak forest, we search for the king. We are looking for the porcini, or the penny bun, Boletus edulis. This is the archetype of the mushroom, stout, solid, and satisfying. Visualize the shape, a thick, white, bulbous stem shaped like a barrel, supporting a smooth brown cap that looks exactly like a perfectly baked bread roll. It is heavy. If you were to pick one up, you would be surprised by its density. It feels substantial, like holding a small animal or a heavy stone. Underneath the cap, there are no gills, only a dense sponge of white or olive green pores. The texture is firm and meaty. To find a porcini is to feel a surge of primal satisfaction. It is the ultimate prize of the forager. It represents sustenance and solidity. Imagine tapping the cap with your fingernail. It makes a dull, solid sound. It is not hollow, it is packed with life. Let the weight of the porcini anchor you. It is a grounding force, a heavy brown moon resting in the moss, telling you that the earth is rich and capable of producing things of great substance. Leaving the European oaks, we travel to the maize fields of Mexico to witness a transformation that has been revered since the time of the Aztecs. We look at a stalk of corn, but the ear is not the familiar yellow cob. It has been touched by Ustilago maedis, creating Huitlacoche. Visualize the kernels of corn swelling, ballooning outward into massive bulbous galls. They are not yellow, but a shimmering pearlescent grey, like storm clouds or polished silver. As they mature, they darken to a deep, velvety black. This is not a disease to be feared, but a delicacy to be savoured. The fungus transforms the simple sugar of the corn into complex savoury compounds, creating a flavour of earth and smoke. There is a strange, alien beauty to the galls. They look like river stones or silver bubbles growing from the stalk. They are soft and velvety to the touch. Imagine the texture of the silver skin, cool and smooth. It is a lesson in value. What looks like a distortion is actually an enhancement. The fungus has entered the grain and expanded it, turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. Let the image of those silver-grey clouds growing on the green stalk fill your vision, a soft, swelling abundance that promises a rich, dark nourishment. Finally, we drift away from the heavy crops and back to the damp, rotting logs of the deep forest, to end with the delicate troops of the mycena, the bonnets. These are the lanterns of the undergrowth. Visualize a fallen log covered in green moss. Rising from it are dozens, perhaps hundreds of tiny, delicate stems. Each one is topped with a cap shaped like a conical hat or a tiny parasol. They're often translucent. If you look closely, you can see the lines of the gills through the thin flesh of the cap, creating a striated pattern like a paper lantern. Some are grey, some are pink, some are yellow, but all are fragile. They sway in the slightest breeze. They are the soldiers of decomposition, but they look like a fairy army. Raindrops cling to their caps, bending them down with their weight, but they spring back. Imagine shrinking down to walk among them. They would tower over you like glass street lamps, filtering the forest light through their translucent skins. There is a sense of community here. They never grow alone. They are always together, a crowded, quiet city on a log. Let the image of these delicate, paper-thin bonnets lull you. They are light, airy and gentle, holding the space with a fragile beauty that asks nothing of you but to watch them sway. From the gentle swaying of the translucent bonnets, our spirit drifts out of the dense forest and into the open, rolling hills of an ancient, unfertilized pasture. Here, where the grass has not been ploughed for centuries, we find a mushroom of exquisite elegance, standing alone like a dancer on a green stage. This is the ballerina wax cap, or the pink wax cap. Visualize the colour first, a soft pastel pink that seems to belong to a nursery or a flower garden, not the fungal kingdom. The cap is conical, pointed at the top and flaring out at the bottom, mimicking the silhouette of a ballerina's tutu in mid-spin. The texture is dry and waxy, smooth as a polished candle. As the mushroom ages, the rim of the cap splits and curls upward, enhancing the frilled skirt-like appearance. It is a creature of old meadows, a signifier of land that has been left to rest. Imagine the wind rippling through the long grass and this single, perfect pink point holding its ground. A silent pirouette frozen in time. There is a fragility here that catches the heart. It is not brown or sturdy. It is a fleeting blush of colour, a reminder that nature is capable of crafting moments of pure, delicate whimsy that look like they were painted by a watercolour artist on the canvas of the field. Leaving the sunlit meadow, we retreat back into the dappled shade of a beech forest, where the light is filtered through leaves of green and gold. Pushing up through the dark, calcium-rich soil is a mushroom that wears a coat of high-contrast elegance. We have found the magpie ink cap. In a world of earth tones, this fungus dresses in black and white. Visualize a tall, slender, bell-shaped cap dark as midnight. But this darkness is interrupted by patches of brilliant white. As the mushroom grows, its outer skin, the universal veil, breaks apart, leaving white, felt-like scales scattered across the black background. It looks like the plumage of a magpie, or a starry night sky wrapped around a cylinder. The contrast is stark and beautiful. As it ages, like its other ink cap cousins, the edges begin to dissolve into black fluid, curling upwards. But in its prime, it is a piece of modern art, a monochrome masterpiece rising from the brown leaves. Imagine the stillness of the beechwoods, the grey trunks of the trees, and this striking black and white beacon standing tall. It smells faintly of naphthalene, a clean chemical scent. It is a vision of duality, of light resting on darkness, creating a pattern that captivates the eye with its bold graphic simplicity. Drifting deeper into the leaf litter, we encounter a texture that seems to have been dipped in the ocean and then rolled in sugar. We find the verdigris agaric. It is a mushroom that looks almost artificial in its coloration, a creature of fantasy. Visualize the cap, a slippery, viscous dome coloured a vivid blue-green, the colour of oxidized copper or a tropical lagoon. It is covered in a thick, protective slime that gleams in the low light. But scattered across this slippery surface are white, fluffy scales, remnants of the veil. They look like snowflakes caught on blue ice, or crystals of sugar resting on a candied apple. The gills underneath are a smoky grey, edging towards purple. It is a complex, slippery beauty. Imagine reaching out to touch it. Your finger would slide off the gelatinous cap. It is a barrier against the dry air, a shield of moisture. The verdigris agaric stands out against the browns of the forest floor like a dropped jewel. It reminds us of the surprising palette of the earth, that beneath the decay of the leaves there are flashes of turquoise and teal waiting to be discovered, wrapped in a layer of protective, glistening slime. From the slippery blue of the ground, we look up to the trunk of an ancient oak tree, where a wound in the bark has given birth to something that challenges our perception of plant and animal. Hanging from the wood is the beefsteak fungus. It does not look like a mushroom. It looks, unnervingly, like a slab of raw meat. Visualize a large, tongue-shaped bracket, coloured a deep, visceral red, turning to liver brown as it ages. The surface is slightly rough and pebbled, like the surface of a tongue. It is soft and yielding to the touch, full of moisture. If you were to slice it, it would release a red juice that looks startlingly like blood. This fungus is rich in tannins, absorbed from the oak tree it consumes. It is a slow consumer, hollowing out the tree over decades but leaving the wood rich and dark. There is a primal quality to the beefsteak fungus. It blurs the line between the flora and the fauna. It looks flesh-like, heavy and organic. Imagine placing your hand on this cool red shelf. It feels alive in a way that dry wood does not. It is a reminder of the raw, pulsing energy of life, the way the tree's vitality is transformed into a new, fleshy form that hangs heavy and red in the shadows of the grove. Leaving the red flesh of the oak, we travel to the coniferous forests of the north, where the air smells of pine resin and cold stone. Here, growing on a dead spruce, is a shelf fungus that wears a belt of fire. This is the red-belted conch. Visualize a hard, woody hoof jutting out from the tree. It is built in layers, like the rings of a tree or the strata of a canyon. The oldest part near the tree is grey or black, but the growing edge is a brilliant varnished band of red and orange, followed by a creamy white rim. It is a sturdy, permanent fixture, but the true beauty appears when the fungus is actively growing. In the cool morning air, the red-belted conch sweats. Visualize clear, perfect droplets of water beading along the creamy white margin and the red belt. They sparkle like diamonds set in a ruby ring. This is not dew. It is water pumped from the metabolism of the fungus itself. It is a weeping jewel. Imagine the sunlight catching these droplets, turning the hard, woody shelf into a chandelier of light. It is a juxtaposition of the hard and the liquid, the ancient wood and the fresh water, a silent offering of moisture to the dry forest air. From the sturdy, life-giving conch, we drift to a vision of pure, terrifying beauty. Standing alone in the mixed woods is the destroying angel. It is widely considered the most beautiful mushroom in the forest, and also the most deadly. Visualize a statue carved from pure white marble. Every part of this mushroom is white: the cap, the stem, the gills, the ring. It is pristine, spotless, and elegant. It rises from a cup-like structure at the base known as the vulva, which looks like a hatched egg. A delicate skirt-like membrane hangs from the upper stem, draping down like white silk. It stands tall and proud, unblemished by the dirt around it. There is a silence that surrounds the destroying angel. It commands respect. Its poison is slow and absolute, but its appearance is one of innocence. Imagine the coolness of its white flesh, the smoothness of its cap. It is a lesson in discernment. It teaches us that beauty and danger can occupy the same space, that the most lethal things can appear the most pure. Let the sheer, monochromatic perfection of the angel hold your gaze, a white phantom in the woods, beautiful to behold but forbidden to touch, a sacred taboo of the fungal world. We turn our eyes from the dangerous white phantom to the mossy floor, seeking a colour that is rich, regal, and deep. Nestled among the green sphagnum moss, we find the violet coral, Clavaria zollingeri. It does not have a cap or a stem. It is a branching cluster of fingers, growing like a miniature reef in the sea of moss. Visualize the colour, a deep, saturated amethyst purple. It is the colour of kings, of twilight, of dreams. The branches are smooth and fragile, forking again and again, tapering to delicate tips. Against the bright green of the moss, the purple vibrates with intensity. It looks like a cluster of gems or a strange purple fire rising from the earth. Imagine shrinking down to wander through this violet thicket. The light would be filtered through the purple branches, casting a surreal glow. It is a rare find, a treasure of the undisturbed woods. There is a quiet magic in the violet coral, a sense that the earth is expressing itself in its most luxurious colours. Let the deep purple hue soothe your mind, sinking you into a state of royal, velvet relaxation. From the quiet coral we move to a landscape of wood chips and mulch, where a tiny biological cannon is preparing to fire. We are observing the cannonball fungus, Spherobolus. It is a minuscule star, barely the size of a pinhead, but it possesses a mechanism of incredible power. Visualize a tiny orange-yellow sphere sitting inside a cup shaped like a star. The sphere is sticky and filled with spores. As the pressure builds within the cup, the inner layer suddenly inverts, flipping inside out with an audible pop. This action launches the sticky sphere into the air, throwing it up to 20 feet away. For a creature this size, that is the equivalent of a human throwing a baseball over a skyscraper. Imagine this happening in slow motion. The tension building in the tissue, the sudden release of energy, the orange ball soaring through the air to stick firmly to a new surface. It is a moment of pure kinetic release. It is the desire to travel, to expand, packed into a tiny hydraulic spring. Feel the satisfaction of that launch, the letting go of the burden, the flight into the unknown. It is a reminder that even the smallest things can have a mighty impact, and that sometimes you have to turn yourself inside out to get where you need to go. Leaving the mulch, we find ourselves on a muddy bank near a stream where the soil is wet and unstable. Here, rising on a gelatinous stalk, is a mushroom that looks like it belongs on another planet. This is the stalked puffball, Calostoma. Visualize a thick, interwoven stem, translucent and jelly-like, emerging from the mud. It looks like a bundle of clear, wet noodles. Perched atop this gelatinous pedestal is a round, dusty head, coloured a burnt orange or brick red. At the very top is a bright red, star-shaped mouth, puckered and raised. It looks like a mouth of coral or an alien pod waiting to speak. When rain hits the puffball, clouds of spores are puffed out through the red lips. There is a distinct rubbery resilience to this fungus. It thrives in the muck. It raises its head high above the mud on a pillar of jelly. Imagine the squishy, yielding texture of the stalk, the way it absorbs the moisture of the stream bank. It is a creature of the wet earth, unabashedly strange, combining the textures of jelly, dust and skin. It stands as a sentinel of the swamp, a red-mouthed witness to the flowing water, breathing its spores into the damp air. Finally, we come to rest in a manicured garden, perhaps near a hedge, where a mushroom grows that looks deceptively familiar. It appears to be a common edible field mushroom, white cap, pink gills, sturdy stem. This is the yellow stainer. But it holds a secret warning in its cells. Visualize the pristine white cap. It looks inviting, but reach out and firmly press your thumb into the base of the stem or the edge of the cap. Watch closely. The white flesh instantly flashes a brilliant chrome yellow. It is a shocking chemical canary yellow that appears as if by magic, and with this colour comes a scent. It does not smell of earth or mushrooms. It smells of iodine, of ink, of a hospital corridor. This is the mushroom's way of speaking. The yellow stain is a visual alarm. The iodine smell is an olfactory siren. It is a master of mimicry that reveals its true nature only when challenged. There is a beauty in this defense. It is vivid and immediate. Visualize that flash of bright yellow paint spreading across the white skin. It is the color of caution, but also of brightness. It reminds us to look deeper, to test the surface of things, and to pay attention to the signals the world gives us. Let that bright yellow light fill your vision for a moment. A clear, sharp color that slowly fades, leaving you safe, aware and ready to drift into the deep, colourless quiet of sleep. From that bright, cautionary flash of yellow, we let our vision soften and blur, allowing the specific details of the earth to fade away. We pull back, drifting upward, leaving the garden, the forest, the mountains, and the clouds far below. We ascend until the earth is but a blue marble suspended in the dark, and we continue further into the vast, silent cathedral of the cosmos. Here, in the final secret of our journey, we discover that the pattern of the mushroom is not merely a terrestrial accident. It is the fundamental blueprint of the universe itself. Computer simulations of the known universe, mapping the invisible filaments of dark matter that bind the galaxies together, reveal a structure that is hauntingly familiar. It is a web. It is a vast branching network of glowing strands separated by voids of darkness. It looks identical in every way to the mycelium we found in the soil. This is the cosmic web, the very architecture of existence, the skeleton of the universe that holds the stars in place, is the same structure as the humble fungus beneath your feet. Visualize this grand mirror. As above, so below. The neural pathways in your brain, the mycelial networks in the forest, and the cosmic web of the galaxies are all singing the same song. They're all systems of connection, of transport, of reaching out across the void to touch and sustain. There is a profound, vibrating peace in this realization. You're not small, you're not isolated, you're part of a fractal geometry that repeats from the microscopic spore to the majestic supercluster. Imagine yourself floating in this cosmic mycelium. The stars are just bioluminescent fruit bodies, blooming on the strands of eternity. You're woven into this fabric. There is no separation between the soil and the sky. It is all one continuous living network. The universe behaves like a giant organism, and the fungi are its earthly ambassadors, teaching us the holy law of connection. Feel the safety of this infinite web. It holds you. It surrounds you. It means that you belong to the universe just as surely as the mushroom belongs to the log. You are held in the arms of a design that spans billions of light years, a design that is built on the simple, loving principle of holding things together. And now, slowly, gently, we begin our final descent. We float down from the stars, down through the quiet atmosphere, back to the sanctuary of your own room. The journey is complete. The forest has told its stories. The spores have settled. The glowing lights of the foxfire have dimmed to a soft, warm ember in the center of your chest. Feel the weight of your body sinking into the mattress, heavier now than when we began. The gravity of the earth is a blanket, tucking you in, holding you safe. Your legs are heavy and warm. Your arms are heavy and loose. Your breath is slow, a rhythmic tide that moves in and out without any effort at all. Visualize the forest we have explored one last time, but now the sun has set completely. The birds are silent. The wind has died down. The trees are standing still, silent sentinels guarding your rest. The mycelium beneath the soil is humming its low, slow lullaby, a vibration of pure peace that travels up through the floor and into your bones. All the colours we have seen, the ruby red, the amethyst purple, the emerald green, the ghostly white, are swirling together into a soft, velvety darkness. There is nothing left to learn. There is nothing left to see. There is only the feeling of being supported. You're like the spore resting on the soft moss, perfectly positioned, perfectly safe, waiting for the rejuvenating drift of dreams. The network of the universe is holding you. The wisdom of the ancient earth is beneath you. You can let go of the last thread of awareness. You can let go of the last thought. The darkness is not empty. It is full of comfort. It is the rich, dark soil of sleep. Let yourself sink into it. Down, down, deeper into the quiet. The world of waking is far away, a distant memory that does not matter here. Here, there is only stillness. Here, there is only the slow, eternal pulse of the resting world. You are part of the great quiet cycle. You are home, And now, 101 wonders are resting with you. Sleep now. Good night.